We're falling like stars, and I didn't notice the chaos inside my heart. Were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me? Were you gonna tell me? Because I knew. When were you gonna
Hey, check it. Hey, check it. Put the place up. Put the place up, yeah we know what we made of. Can't get enough of you, boo, I'm a chaser. Face up, now I feel a little major. Blink of an eye, ego I'm a taker, shaker. Yeah, she was a ball shaker, she shake me out that door to no place. Damn, why you doing all that? Thought you was my wife, but you stabbed me in the back. Something like a rope when we came out there, we settled facts like Da Vinci. I'm breaking codes, I'm breaking backs. Come on, get your ass up in the sleeping. Put another smile like it was the last Christmas. Hey. Put the place up. Put the place up, yeah we know what we made of. Can't get enough of you, boo, I'm a chaser. Face up, now I feel a little major. Blink of an eye, ego I'm a taker, shaker. Yeah, she was a ball shaker, she shake me out that door to no place. Damn, why you doing all that? Thought you was my wife, but you stabbed me in the back. Sounding like a rose when we came out there, we settled facts like Da Vinci. I'm breaking codes, I'm breaking backs. Come on, get your ass up if you're sleeping. With another smile like it was the last Christmas. Hey.
did it, at what was it, Clear Channel, then did it online for a while as well. Proud of that guy.
We competed against Clear Channel. That was the big
Oh, is that true?
competitor, yeah, at CBS Radio in Pittsburgh. So your dad is dead to me.
You never know until it happens. Ain't a thing you see coming a mile away. But suddenly lightning somehow got into the bottle. Now you need to move fast to make it stay. You should hurry to love him now. You should hurry to love him now. It's gonna get better, it's gonna get worse. One day is a blessing, the next is a curse. But that's how it is, that's how love's supposed to feel. Like God and the devil have struck a deal. You should hurry to love him now. Oh, you should hurry to love him now. tears that I feel fill up with emotions. Could I taste them for real? Longing for you, longing for you. Oh, but I can't get back. What can I do? What can I do? Oh, when your train is gone. I don't wanna go back, back. Don't wanna go back. If you are not with me, hey, do you read me? Go back, back to where we came from. If my hands are empty, hey, do you read me? Go back. I don't wanna go alone. Go back. If you are not with me, hey, I don't wanna go back. I know you want the best for me. Your intentions are good. I walk back to my history, into my old neighborhood. Longing for you, longing for you. Oh, but I can't get back. What can I do? What can I do? Oh, when your train is gone. I don't wanna go back, back. Don't wanna go back. If you are not with me, hey, do you read me? Go back, back to where we came from. If my hands are empty, hey, do you read me? Go back.
Welcome to the SMITE Minor League Fall Split. Finch here, joined by Ryan Agro Bailey, and this is really the kickoff for the for the SMITE Minor League, at least here in Europe, Ryan.
Yeah, exactly. So today you'll see all of the European teams get a chance to go up against one another, 4 best of ones, and then tomorrow you get your first look at NA.
And it's going to be very exciting to be able to go through and see how everyone has improved during a little bit of time between the summer split and the fall split. Remember, some of these teams had to go through that relegations process as well, so there's even a slightly different look to some of these teams here in the league. And, of course, we'll get to check up with Insignum, your summer land champs as well. So there's a lot that we're going to want to keep caught up.
No changes to Insignum, as you can expect.
As it should be.
When they look that good during the summer finals, that was a great bounce back for them after a rough spring finals. They turned it around and looked really, really good in the summer, and I expect them to continue with that momentum during the fall. I'd be very surprised if anyone's able to challenge them at the top.
And, of course, the most exciting thing about it is that, for there is a path for these minor league teams to try and make it towards HRX towards the end of this. I believe we're going to be taking one team going up into that pool to sort of compete up against the rest of those SPL players. So that's one thing that I know could be certainly exciting, but won't be nearly as difficult for everyone else at home. But that's one more thing that makes this fall split that much more important here, Ryan.
Obviously, the fall split is the one where you want to make sure that you're playing your best, because not only do you have that chance to get to HRX, but then you have to actually make it work whenever you get there. I mean, you have to be able to understand the meta to the level and be able to compete at the same level as some of these SPL teams, which is not an easy task. But if there's anyone who can do it, I think Insignum likely tops that list.
They're definitely up there at the top of my list of ones that can compete for it. And from what I hear from chat or Reddit or that sort of thing, they've been kind of wanting to see, because Insignum just looks so dominant down in the SML. I feel like in spring, I think they lost maybe one set. In summer, no sets. They've just consistently looked strong. And then their NA counterparts across the pond look good as well. So hopefully they'll make it through, or at least the best team will. And we can see how they will get to compete at HRX. But again, for those of you at home, things be a little bit easier. You won't have to fight your way through any kind of gauntlet or anything. You can just go to highresexpo.com and just buy your tickets. They're on sale now.
November 16th through the 18th. Finch, I heard that you're giving presents out to everyone who comes.
That's right. I'm going to give out a patented Finch dab. If you come up to see me at the event, I'll do that.
Can I get a preview of that by chance?
Yep, you just saw it.
No,
oh, man, too bad.
Oh,
That's
right.
How'd that happen? Man, it was a great dab, I promise you. It happened right here. You heard the mic kind of bump into my chest as I dabbed.
First of all, it was average at best. I mean, it wasn't particularly impressive. And secondly,
it was very quick dab.
It was, yeah, but you're gonna have to do a lot of those if you're giving one to everyone who comes to HRX. So I think being able to do it quickly is a big thing for you. Keep up the good work, though.
Yeah, I'm practicing right now, getting my reps in. So make sure you're there at HRX and just remind me that I promised this, and I'll go, no, I didn't, and I won't do it. So that'll be something that you can look forward to. But today you can look forward to a lot of excellent matches here in the SML. We'll go ahead and get the schedule up here so you can see exactly which matches are going to be coming down the pike. Obviously, the one we're all very excited to see is going to be Insignum up against Optimus Gang. That first set, your first and second seeds from summer, battling it out to see where they still land. But I also want to take a look here at Exodrium, Sacred Speed Buff, the ones that had to fight back through relegations. Sacred Speed Buff was there in summer, but Exordium, is essentially just all new from that relegations process, so I definitely want to get a look at them as well.
That's one of the most fun parts about the minor league, is seeing this team full of names that you might not recognize, and maybe if you're a big ranked player in Europe, you might know some of these players, but for those of us here in North America, we aren't quite as familiar with them, and so it's exciting to see what they'll be able to do at a competitive level. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and Insignum kind of got to run the gauntlet today. That's second and third place because their last match is up against Victoria's Secret, I believe, as well.
Right.
If you go off those placements from the end of the summer split as well. So Insignum, if they're really at the top, they'll be able to prove it by the end of the day.
Exactly, and then they'll be able to coast against seeds 4 and 5, right? If they're able to win against the second seed and the third seed, you can expect that they'll probably do the same against the lower seeds before they'd have to reset it on the back half of this fall split.
And Insignum just looks so consistently strong for me, because we'll talk about that set first, the Insignum versus Optimus Gang one, and in particular Insignum. They look so consistently strong to me. It's kind of hard to pick one person to focus on, but I can't help but sort of hone in on Death Panner. He has that SPL experience from competing at the highest level. He's such a constantly strong performer for them as well in the mid. I mean, I just feel like he just always looks so strong.
I completely agree with you, and we kind of expect that from Death Panther and from Lasbra, who also has that sub experience, subbing for Dignitas. But I want to look at Genetics as well, because that's a support player for this team that was kind of the new guy on the block. Half Devil got pulled up to the SPL, and they were like, okay, where are we going to go? Genetics stepped in. It had a phenomenal LAN in particular. I mean, he looked really, really good here at the Skillshot Studios. So I think that if Insignum is going to continue to grow, a lot of it's going to be around that duo lane of Genetics and with Joshi. those two are going to need to get more and more synergy throughout the fall split. The more time that they have together, I think the better they'll end up doing.
And I think that you're right, that they've been looking consistently good. It won't be the easiest challenge going up against Optimus Gang and having to look quite that good. I always look in towards Johnny in the jungle. He plays really well for them sometimes, busting out the Ao Kuang. You never exactly know what you're getting from him, but you know that it's going to be something with pressure that he can try and get some nice early kills with. So I expect plenty of that from Johnny today.
That's the right place to look. Johnny is the heart and soul of Optimus Gang. Look, Fusify and Caspanify, those two had good SPL experience, that they got their opportunity there and did okay. But I really look at Johnny and in the mid lane at Ferricryk as well. Those are the two guys that you're really looking at for Optimus Gang. If they're going to upset Insignum here, and it's certainly possible because remember, it's only one game.
Right,
you don't need to win a best of 3. So if you just come out with a really good strategy that the enemy team wasn't really ready for, I think we could see Optimus Gang win today. It really wouldn't shock me.
And that's what's so important, I think, about it. When it is those best of ones, you got to make sure you come prepared for every single match. You got to make sure that you come in ready to respond at any moment here. So that's what's going to be the challenge for these two top-end teams, and really for all the teams. You have a lot of great sets, that we'll certainly be able to take a look at later on in the day. But this first one, again, is going to be Insignum up against Optimus Gang. We'll head into those picks and bans and get started here for that set 1.
This is going to be a fun one, man. I really think that getting these two teams looking at what the meta is going to be like in the minor league. I mean, it's usually very similar to what we see out of the pro league, but there will be some differences. Just those little individual picks that individual players like that maybe not you won't see at the competitive level of the SPL.
I think that's the perfect point to sort of highlight on, right? Is that I think there's a lot more premium placed on these sort of pocket picks, or like your personal top 1 or 2 gods that you don't necessarily see all the time in the SPL, but you can see a lot more of them here in the minor league. So that's something that I'm definitely going to be looking for. I mean, this Optimus Gang roster, formerly Burrito, I guess, from the SPL.
Right.
They've got tons of experience here, too. It's basically that same roster, and they've been sticking together throughout their whole minor league journey. So if they could show us that they've made some growth, it's not easy, but it would be here up against Insignum, where a lot of junglers getting banned.
Yeah, the focus on the Lasbra, just talking about what we were just saying. I mean, normally you won't see Ratatosk or Robin bans. Maybe one of those against certain junglers, but leaving both open is pretty crazy. Insignum has the choice between Chernobog and Freya. They decided to go with Freya, and I feel like it's a contested selection. Baron as well was open, but I definitely think that Freya and Chernobog did a little bit above what Baron usually brings.
That does make me think, though, that we likely will be seeing the Baron Chernobog together, and of course, why not, right? Chernobog, that global pressure, I feel like, really is that big difference. That Living Nightmare Ultimate allows him to sort of get around the map, but in lane, his clear is so strong as well. So, I mean, I feel like it's not just that he rotates so well, it's that he can just out-clear you, it feels like, so early on.
He can't only out-clear you, but he can outbox you as well, because his passive means that he's just doing more damage to you with his auto attacks.
If we hit the same number.
Exactly, then Chernobog will end up winning that. I like this strategy from Optimus Gang. It just means that they feel that Freya, Baron, and Chernobog are all about the same power level.
Right.
And as long as we ban away none of those characters and we see a Thoth ban from Insignum, that means that we can just not ban any of those, and we will get 2, whereas they only get 1. So this is Optimus Gang kind of putting their eggs in Freya or Chernobog or Baron, whoever Insignum pick. We will be better with 2 of the remaining 3.
I am a little surprised, though, that Insignum banned the Naja as that first pick. Naja is very often in that top group, I would say, with the Freya, the Chernobog, and the Barons, as like those picks you just can't slip through. Insignum banned that kind of allow Optimus Gang, I think, to leave them all open and come out maybe a little bit better with the Baron and Chernobog. We'll certainly have to end up seeing.
Yeah, I mean, if Optimus Gang, if they see Insignum ban, they ban Robin instead. A throwaway ban to try and do that where you leave all 4 open so that both sides get 2. Then Optimus Gang can easily ban their one that they don't want to play against the most, whether it's Freya, Naja, Chernobog, Baron, and then still get 2 out of 3. So being in second pick position kind of leaves you in that position of power in that sense.
They were able to definitely get some strong picks here. They have the Agni going along with the Baron, so it means the Baron very likely is going to be off mid as we expect. We see him in support and in solo lane, so that's still a bit flex for them. It could go into either one, and I feel like do very well either way.
Ama the pick, so this was like, I don't know, I've got a feeling that this Ama is likely going to be support. I just feel like Ama does a little bit better in the support role right now than in solo lane, because you're giving up a lot of pressure by putting her in solo lane, and she just provides such great utility in that duo lane that I wouldn't be surprised to see Baron in the solo lane, I'm a support to try and balance out that magical versus physical damage on your team.
Zhonghui is going to be the pick that's coming in for Insignum here now, Ryan. And the Nox, so a lot of magical damage. When you put the Freya and the Athena that they've already selected for themselves together with the Zhonghui and the Nox, that puts a lot of responsibility onto the ROM, and then I guess Joshi by extension there to really execute.
Yeah, I don't love 4 magical here. Thanatos is an interesting selection from Optimus Gang, so that'll likely be in the jungle, but I don't know. This is going to be Nox support, Athena jungle is the only way that I see this end up working for Insignum.
Right.
That's what I expect from them.
Well, they have a lot of gods to try to decide where they want to put them. I do think there's a good chance for that Zhonghui over there in the solo lane, but what about you? Who do you think will win this game? I know Insignum are obvious favorites, but do you like this Optimus Gang draft enough to try and get that upset? They only have to win 1 match. If Thanatos gets that ball rolling, I mean, that really could just do it, especially against a Zhonghui where the execute can be very strong.
That's right. I mean, we saw Thanatos versus Zhonghui in the solo lane quite a bit, but I still think this is going to be Thanatos in the jungle. I just imagine there's no way they take Baron out of that solo lane now.
We'll get to see just how strong that Baron Chernobog that Optimus Gang first picked are indeed going to be. Let's get it over to the casters and into the game. Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much, John Finch. And of course, Aggro. We're into game now. Insignum versus Optimus Gang. And already Insignum going very deep into Optimus Gang's jungle there, looking to get an early ward down for Vision. No pick potential, as Optimus Gang also going to group up and do the same sort of thing here.
A bit surprised, though, to see Insignum willing to venture so deep, because if anything, I would probably consider Optimus Gang to have the favor in the early game, and I suspect that that's the primary reason we see them backing off so heavily. But now Optimus Gang seem to have piqued their interest. They want that 0.
And it's free because he took his card, whacked it out there, but the sprint from Pusify just denies the Jonga Donga from doing exactly what he would like to do. So now the invader's working out. Look at Johnny and the whole team going to proxy farm that mid wave too, trying to deny a bit of an opportunity here at the same time and steal away the speed buff.
They still need to make sure that they break apart from each other pretty soon here, and I think that's exactly what we're about to witness from Johnny and Civi, both just trying to clear out the rest of Insignum's jungle that's available to them directly. And Zero, this is going to be rather rough for him now during the laning phase, because it's not just the speed buff that's missing, but the blue as well, meaning that now it's going to be so painful, I think, for Lasbra to try and get any early game farm going as an Athena.
Well, this split of the minor league as well, remember, it is best of ones. A lot of what happened through the year in the best of threes was 2-0s anyway. But now he just puts the pressure on a little bit more on that first game. There's no chance to come back. You've got to make the right call. And I think that's why you're starting to see some of these comps at the beginning of the split, Taco, where they look a little bit unusual. 4 magical for Insignum is a little bit out there for me.
But Lasbra, great recovery, I feel, because he was able to go and actively invade Optimus Gang's own speed buff, so he'll still have a speed to utilize, and Johnny probably not going to be too happy once he realizes that one's missing.
Yeah, everyone's still level 2. You'll see this experience maybe collapse a little bit sooner, but Panther under a bit of pressure here. Stands in place, though, after Fire Quick dashed in, as Lasbra did turn that corner at the right sort of time. Johnny looking to help protect a little bit. He would love to find a scythe, but wants to save it with those minions body blocking the way.
Check out the mana pool, though, available to Death Panther right now. He just does not have enough to really want to step up super far into this wave. Not against the Thanatos and the Agni. No. Plenty of kill potential there, despite the fact that they're still only level 2.
I thought Lasbra might get caught there. It's like, look where he is, just behind the tier 2 tower in the mid lane, rotating around, trying to get away. And actually, he will do so. Optimus Gang not going to give chase anymore. Instead, look at farming. And it's actually going to allow Lasbra to steal away those back harpies on the right-hand side, too.
Surprisingly enough, though, hold that thought, Death Panther under a little bit of pressure here from Johnny. Seemed like Freya was going to get the better end of that trade up until the Scythe connected. Funny
enough, you can see the damage that Freya can do alongside of Thanatos. So it's a 1-for-1 trade. Whoever gets that shot first technically will win. If anything, as long as Johnny survives that first burst, he can answer back and sustain back up again with that side.
It's still going to be rather tricky, I think. He's got to watch himself early on. As a Thanatos, you know how much pressure you have just in namesake alone. So risking that from overextending or over-aggressing at the wrong moment could be pretty detrimental towards the whole of Optimus Gang.
Pusify hanging out on this left-hand side looking for a cheeky steal away. Won't happen this time as the buff goes over to Death Panther. And he quickly needs to turn tail with that sprint to get away from the danger zone as he was looking for that bonus experience here. Insignum, though, Taco, I mean, they had a pretty good run so far this year. Same roster, still sticking together, doing good things, looking to try and be the minor league team from Europe to make it towards the World Championships.
Oh, one thing's for sure, Andy. Their experience is definitely shining through right now because I wanted to elaborate on it sooner. They really aren't even down that much outside of the First Blood bounty. They did a great job making sure to invade Optimus's jungle, so much so that, in fact, I feel as though Insignum are actually trailing a little bit or leading in the experience.
Yeah, if anything, it's just the duo lane from Insignum is struggling just a little bit, but across the way, it evens out across the scorecards, as you can see. A couple of first trips back to base now to get these boots online. A couple of tier 3s available. She's a focus for Sibi on that Baron solo. Baron versus Zhong solo.
Baron versus Zhong solo is just battle of the mages and whoever gets their ultimate off first. Baron probably has a little bit of favor there just because I feel as though the pull-in is a lot more effective in team fights, but Zero's going to be able to bring the damage to the engagements, and I think that Insignum are really just looking to play around heavy burst. I mean, you've got Death Panther on Freya, Josh as well on the ROM, a couple of pretty late game carries, but I think Zero's going to be that nice bridging damage that they're going to need throughout the mid and early game.
Yeah, and I think that matchup in the solo lane is most interesting because it's about a battle of sustain more than anything else. Who can get as many heals off as possible? Obviously, Zhong very sustainable. Same can be said for the Baron, which we've seen a little bit more of through this split. Stun hits 2, and the bombs rain down on Panther. Still got his ultimate, holds it to the last minute, which is nicely timed. Johnny, however, still has his ultimate available. And Death Panther's relatively low, but no ultimate attempt. Instead, just trying to pressure them under the tower and look to strip some jungle.
Love this rotation out of Fusify. Death Panther just now being made aware of it. Genetic's going to try and help him out, and now this could be the end of Fusify. He's a little bit out of position here. Beautiful whoop by Death Panther, and that's going to be the end. Insignum, first kill on the board.
Credit where it's due to Genetics over the rotation to follow the enemy support, which was trying to make that rotation to mid lane. That could have spelled doom for actually Death Panther if we would have seen Fusify getting there on his own and collapse around the back. But Genetics rotation pays dividends and actually gives Death Panther his first kill.
That's just the kind of map awareness that you want to see from your support. I really expected that to be in Optimus's gang's favor.
Yes,
we saw where Farcrick was at on those back harpies, already making the invade go through. So with the wraparound from Fusify, it could have very easily spotted out that Freya.
There's Fusify now with his ultimate, looking for the all-in aggression on Panther, gets the beats and Lasbra's ultimate out in defense to make sure his Freya stays alive. So now there's a bit more of a window to go aggressive on Death Panther now, and we may see Johnny start to use his Thanatos ult towards that.
Well, that original burst combo that we saw from Farcrick and Johnny, I'm a pretty big fan of. The Agni Bomb Stun is a great way to not only apply some initial damage, but just to see if Death Panther is going to force out those beads early on. Johnny should have no issues connecting with the Scythe as long as Farcrick can alley-oop it to him.
Well, here's the battle of sustain, but the ultimate being used lovely by Sibi to bring Zero all the way into tower range. That will force the Aegis, and Zero's going to turn this around now, looking for damage as we look towards the mid lane. The tier 1 tower is already dead. In the skies, Johnny looking for a target. Farcrick needing some help. Can't find the ultimate, though, can Johnny? And Farcrick will fall down to Joshi in the snipes on the rotation. Sibi does pick up Zero on the right-hand side as Kispanify forced to beads away from the silence route combination. 2 for 2, 500 gold in the lead roughly for Optimus Gang.
This is the time to fight, though, as a solo laner, and Sibi took complete advantage of his moment. He knew that there was so much action taking place in the mid lane that there'd be no one to try and help back up Zero. Great opportunity that he seized and capitalized on. That's going to somewhat recover the map pressure for Optimus Gang, considering they just lost out on that mid-fight.
Messenger Mask online for Lasbra to go alongside the reinforced Reeves here. So Lasbra is definitely going very tanky this game. He's going to take a little bit more damage if he upgrades that Mask to the next level. But what he will have is the ridiculous amount of mobility that could come from that too. We'll find out how this works for Lasbra going forward as he's currently just clearing up his own side of the jungle.
I think another problem, though, that Zero is going to encounter pretty soon here with his Baron is the fact that Lasbra can't really afford to gank solo lane all that often, if at all, just because he's an Athena. You don't really have that immediate burst damage that you would probably want to try and take down a Baron, especially now he's already got the Void Stone online. Hold that thought, though, because now it's Farcrick being forced out of this Purification Beats. Great taunt there, but Death Panther's actually the one getting controlled by Fusify.
Yeah, Fusify did a lot of work, but Fusify's getting very low on the front lines now, and Zero's rotation will pay dividends for him. Beats forced on Johnny as well, and he has to limp back after the banish as Zero doing a good work of zoning, but Sibi pulls back the Zhonga. and he slams his head into the ground. But here's Thanatos as well. Johnny actually went to the back and picked up Death Panther, realizing he had the chance for that. That's 4 for 3 now. Optimus Gang, you know, not expected to be the favorites here, actually have a bit of a lead.
The Optimus Gang just doing everything in their power to try and stronger him this early game away from Insignum, and in a sense, Insignum are playing right into it. There's been one really solid engagement for Insignum in the mid lane, and we just saw it happen, and then immediately Optimus Gang, with no time to waste, charge right back down that mid lane. Because of the rotation from Zero, it allows Sibby to come into play a little bit sooner than anticipated, and Insignum just did not have a way to try and protect their Zhang Kui.
Well, with how this is going, Taco, it's an interesting battle between the two anyway, just because it's... We always look at Insignum and say it's like the SPL waiting room, the future stars of the SPL. Well, Optimus Gang themselves, those players have all pretty much touched the SPL at multiple times themselves, so it's almost like the past experience of the SPL versus the future, and at the moment the past is winning.
For now.
For
and
now.
that's the key word here, because if Insignum are able to make it towards that mid-late game section of the match, I think that's where we definitely start to see a little bit less and less of Johnny getting away with some of these Thanatos moments and kind of just exploding like a balloon the second that Death Panther goes near him.
Well, if he gets some magical defense though, he will survive a lot longer here with this composition, and Seeley could be pretty good.
I would like to see the Ankile from Johnny. Not only does it give him the cooldown reduction that you would definitely want on a Thanatos, but the silence is always pretty important in case you do have to absorb a little bit more than what you're aiming for.
Especially when you look at the composition. I mean, if Theta comes into taunt range, Freya's generally quite short range as well. Then you've also got Zhang Kui, which is going to do the same sort of thing. We'll see how this works out, though, for Optimus Gang as they start to group around this left-hand side. They were looking towards the red buff area of Insignum, but it's already on cooldown. Ward is placed, and everyone's good to go. But all the Tier 1 towers are down at a 10-minute mark. Outside of the left-hand side, obviously the Hunt is still going at it, but Hispanic have a ever so slight lead there.
And just look at the zoning by Sibby and Caspanify. Optimus Gang, they started pulling the Gold Fury, but now they just want the engagement. Sibby already getting poked down to half health, and Zero now getting aggressed down by Cusify.
Zero goes in with his ultimate, gets pulled in by Sibby, though the dunk comes down. The Aegis keeps him alive, but Zero still gets cleaned up by Johnny. Sibby and Fusify have to disengage. Fusify completely had him on off the initial engagement, and turnaround might be fair play if Insignum want to go for it.
Sibby is just putting in so much work right now in terms of peel and disengage potential. Optimus Gang not only get a clean pick onto Zero yet again, but he's starting to really feel the repercussions of being 1-4.
And that was just a quick cheeky pull from Optimus Gang that set all that up for them as well. They could go back to that if they so choose. At the moment, it's going to be about farming.
If Sibby isn't kept in check pretty soon here, I think that this Baron might just run away with it.
It could possibly be a problem, but Johnny in the mid lane gets a kill. I was like, Johnny in the mid lane under pressure. No, he just two-shot Death Panther. So even though Freya's strong, Thanatos in the early game can still kill it.
Through the purification beads as well. That's all that Johnny was aiming for. Knew that Lasbro would try and get the taunt off to set up a kill for Death Panther instead.
That's a big oof in chat for everybody watching, by the way. Just
yeah, Johnny's not trying to have any of it.
drop that oof. The red buff is going to get stolen because of that, and now there's pressure on the left-hand side even more so. Death Panther on his way back from base, but all 5 members of Optimus Gang at the Gold Fury already. On zone duty, Sibby right now using the Baron. Pretty good for that zone control too, but he can't cover both angles, so it's going to allow Genetics to creep forward. See, the Gold Fury's already dead, and Insignum have to turn tail with no extra chance of defending.
The best steal potential that Insignum probably had there would have been Joshi with an Astral Barrage, but that ability was still on cooldown up until just now. And without it, Insignum just did not feel comfortable trying to contest inside of that Gold Fury pit. And I don't blame them. With the amount of burst damage that's already come through in a lot of these early team fights, Optimus Gang clearly have the advantage.
Bit surprised by Farrakrick's build in the mid lane here. Gone full cooldown reduction on the Agni. Blessing, then Chronos Pendant, and of course use the focus.
I'm not opposed to this simply because the way that Farrakrick has been playing this Agni has not been to be the star damage dealer. He's just there to burn out actives and make sure that Johnny has very easy setup for some of those sites to connect.
So it does work out that way. We'll see how this build continues. I'm just surprised because Chronos Pendant did take a bit of a nerf as well. It's not as powerful as it once was. A lot of mages always talk about their first item should be a nice 100 power. Well, Chronos Pendant isn't that case. It's 90 at the moment now, so it's not going to be the same sort of deal.
still rather effective. And what I also like is that Firecrack, now that he has that cooldown reduction fully online, looking to build into some pen, which is going to be important here because Insignum, they are starting to approach that mark where they get a little bit of the magical defenses online, and that could potentially help them out a little bit more so in these fights.
Spotify on the left-hand side, going to get caught in an awkward spot by Lasbra. Still has his beads and Aegis available, but doesn't have to use either or his ultimate to disengage. Instead, just dashes away using the Living Shadow. As Beautify gets popped, well, Genetics is completely popped. He gets the root up in time, but I don't think it'll stop him falling. Beautify gets him round the back. Sibby still managed to clean up Death Panther. This is not working out well for Insignum in game 1 of the split.
The only reason why we saw Optimus Gang in the jungle to begin with is because of that buff respawning. Now Zero forced to try and help defend Lasbra speed buff. You never know if Optimus Gang is going to decide to swing from red over down to the bottom right side of the map. And Optimus Gang, recognizing that Insignum are still down 2 members, it's just a free Pyromancer.
It's exciting up for the minor league because Insignum pretty much been on a tear the last 2 splits of barely dropping any games or having any issues with any teams, but Optimus Gang are definitely the one to watch then at the moment because Lasbra's just lost 3/4 of his health just trying to get out of the danger zone of stealing away that red buff, which wasn't even successful.
Kispanify is really starting to swing on this Chernobog. Level 14, 1-0 and 4, and we haven't honestly seen too many Living Nightmares either. Most of these engagements have just been raw damage out of Firecrack Johnny, and then an immediate invade towards the buff, and Insignum just left with nothing to respond to.
And you mentioned Johnny, he did go for that on Sealy we were talking about too, so we'll see how that plays out for him in this game. Bit of magical protection coming out from Sibby next as well. Hotwood Amulet, I guess he's going to go for Fusify. What do you expect from Baron here? If he's going to go for some magical, is it going to be Hotwood, the Talisman?
One of them should go for a Pestilence if they're really concerned about some self-sustain going on between Death Panther and Zero. Even Joshi having the Devourer's Gauntlets could be affected in a way by Pestilence. Even if it's Slight, I think Slight's really all Optimus Gang needs when they're able to do what they have been doing.
And that's the fun thing for Sibby then. He's got quite a few options where he could head here with the Pestilence, with the Bulwark even, or, like I said, the Talisman of Energy, which I think could be quite useful here for the mobility factor and the bonus attack speed that everyone underestimates.
Talisman of Energy alongside of Sibby's secondary ability would just be very dangerous because of that chase potential. They're already fast enough because of Fusify, and just look at this dominance over Insignum's red buff. No one dares to even try and venture near it. Some of the members of Insignum not even at level 12 yet for that secondary relic. Meanwhile, the entirety of Optimus Gang have that secondary relic slot open.
Sibby going to eat some damage in the mid lane, but the magical defense is helping him out. He's got a 1-level lead over Death Panther, but it's not the sort of power you see from the Freya normally in that situation. Just shows how tanky Sibby is at this moment in the game, specifically for a Mage 2.
Baron, probably best known right now for his solo lane capabilities because he feels like one of the more effective mages to go hybrid on. I think that he's kind of stolen the title from Zhang Kui in a sense.
I know you say that, but I've been really enjoying him in the support role just lately. When I talk about Baron now, I'm like, oof, he's so much fun.
I like him more in support than solo personally, but he works in both, of course.
I know you prefer him in solo because as a hunter player...
No. Support, he's sick.
He's good, but the problem is that he just like runs around in circles getting chased.
Well,
that's how he lives.
He just has so much crowd control.
Yeah.
It's all the constant spamming of slows. That's like every hunter's dream because then you can't miss your autos.
Not just that, the Death's Gaze that everyone forgets about. The first ability that Baron Samedi brings is a power debuff if it connects and an attack speed debuff on the target that connects with. So remember that. But oh, hello! Insignum, cheeky chops, you boys! They caught Optimus Gang potentially with their pants down here, but Kispanify's already turned up. Living Nightmare here looking to steal it away. Can he get it? Insignum get the Fire Giant, but Optimus Gang have arrived. Lasbra's out of mana, Genetics is almost out of health, and Silenced in place dashes away, but round the corner comes Sibby to make sure that kill's cleaned up. Turns his attention towards Zero, gets the beads out of Josh, he gets the beads out of Zero too, and the chase is now on for that Zhonga as Johnny takes to the sky.
It's got to be a full disengage, but Johnny isn't willing to let him go. He's still looking to connect, gonna find Zero underneath the T2 tower, in fact, and it's only Joshi and Death Panther, the lone survivors of that Fire Giant. Is it still worth it? Probably, but that's gotta hurt for Insignum.
They have to try and find a way back in, Taco, and I think the call was right to try and give it a go. They did get the Fire Giant, but they disengage after the fact. nobody could really stay in zone. I think what they could have potentially done there is sacked a life or two on defense of getting the rest of the team out to be able to make sure they don't lose out across the map. Because they lose a tier 2 in mid now, red buff again, and now the Gold Fury.
I was looking at it more from the sense that in Signum, by taking the Fire Giant, sure you lose 3 members, but it does prevent Optimus Gang from having that easy siege onto the fire. So even though Insignum won't be able to properly utilize this FG moment, they still at least buy themselves a little bit of time. That's going to buy them some time to get some levels, get some gold, more experience. It's just a benefit all around, but it did come at a pretty heavy price because that gap between the gold definitely opened up from Optimus Gang sieging that T2 and those 3 kills.
Biggest problems for Insignum so far then is where most of the deaths have come from. Solo and mid lane are struggling a little bit further behind now, and their lanes are been in trouble since moment 1 almost. I don't know about Zhong into Baron with how this was played, or at least just how the matchup was played, I guess. I'm not sure if the picks are terrible in this situation. I don't think Baron completely counters Zhong.
Well, in a way, I kind of feel as though Insignum are playing this as though they still have a best of 3 to deal with.
Maybe, yeah.
Because this kind of a draft, I don't feel really suits a short-term engagement moment. It feels a little bit more mid to late, but against a team like Optimus Gang, who was prioritized in the early game pretty heavily, Insignum should have tried to match at least a little bit of that in 1 or 2 of the side lanes. You can't have both of your lanes double down on low clear as well as your mid lane.
Oh, but Freya's not really low clear, would you say? I mean, I guess Agnes, the matchup is the issue, I guess, but her clear's not terrible.
I'm viewing it from the perspective of having to deal with both Thanatos and Agni, and so I don't really see Death Panther being able to really push up as much as he probably would have wanted to early on to try and poke out Farkrik.
Especially with not having Athena in the jungle too. Yeah, it makes some sense. Tier 2 on the right does fall for Optimus Gang. Joshy's taking on 2 on this left-hand side. He's been left on his own. And Joshy will surely fall. He's just trying to buy as much time as possible, doing a damn good job of surviving and staying out of range of Sibi. But there is a couple of curses coming into play now. And Joshy's not going to have a good time of things. Now he's taking 3 to bring down the Man Mountain Joshy. Get baited! Get out SMITE! If you got a kill there, like, that'd have been play of the actual year if he would have found a kill, I think.
He almost had it.
He nearly did, yeah.
Onto Sibi. I think if it had been left in a 1v2, he might have taken down both Sibi and Fusify, but now it's up to Lasbro trying to handle his own 1v2 against Johnny and Farkrik. That is until Death Panther and Genetics show up, and with that, Optimus Gang, they're going to fall back to sieging the rest of Insignum's towers.
Love what we saw from Johnny there too, just in, out, and just quite happy to juke out the abilities then, fire his own back. All the tier 2 towers are now down at less than 20 more minutes into the game then, and it's all on Insignum's defense. And when I look at their defense, I'm a little bit worried.
I am very worried when I look at Insignum's defense because right now their defense is mostly relying on Optimus Gang messing up their siege.
Yeah.
And just overcommitting 1 by 1 as opposed to grouping up as a team. But based off of how Optimus Gang have been rolling around the map this entire match, I don't see why that would start to change underneath the Phoenixes.
Because of the gold as well. Now we talk about gold and experience as being an important factor. Yeah, they are. Gold is the itemization. 13,000, split that 5 ways. You're looking at a good 2.5 minimum for each of those players. And that's pretty much a whole full item. And when you actually see the items, you can see they have at least a full item advantage.
Caspanify in some cases, even 2.
Yes.
Unless you want to count the other half of chin size, but Joshy, depending on his gold in hand, doubt that he's going to have chin size. Oh, actually, no, he's about 80 gold off of that right now, so he'll be there pretty soon, and that's going to help out greatly, I think, in this base defense on the Phoenixes.
A bit surprised by the Titan's Bane for Caspanify here, because there's not that much armor on the enemy team realistically, is there? Is that just because the old school ways of Titan's Bane used to be good against towers and he's not realized that, do you reckon?
This feels a little bit more like buying out of habit as opposed to buying for dealing with the enemy team composition. I think it might also be a just-in-case clause. And just in case Insignum try to get any physical defenses online to deal with the Turnibog, he's got a way to tear right through it.
That's very fair indeed. So Fire Giant goes to Optimus Gang. I like the call from Insignum. They don't want to take a fight the Fire Giant to try and get some global gold so they can get themselves to those 4th items completed, which is a little bit closer now. But it's now down to Phoenix defenses. Optimus Gang have, well, the side lanes to have to push up to. Gold Fury is about to spawn. You could collect that on the way if they want to. but most importantly, it's where they began the game pretty much on Insignum's red buff.
Optimus Gang, I feel like they've been in Insignum's jungle since the very first minute. I mean, even that 5-man grouping for the first blood onto Zero is really what set the pacing of this match, because Lasbra loses his jungle early on. Optimus Gang gets control of those timers. They know where they can invade on the red buff after that because they have the timers from the solo side buffs. And on everything else, not to mention Zero just getting solo killed also because he was so far behind to Sibi.
Start the split as well, you're always going to see interesting compositions and builds because nobody really knows what everybody else is doing. Eventually, they'll become an agreement eventually of like the right sort of way to build and the right sort of compositions to draft. But everyone will have their own intake of what's going on. And Signum, well, they came into this and they believed that Freya was going to be the one to carry them through this game. And Optimus Gang, they got in response to that Chernobog and, of course, the Baron.
Something else we haven't really talked about either is Insignum are running a 4 magical draft and really just trying to force Joshi into being their sole physical damage, and I think that's also kind of hurting them in a sense because normally people complain that it can be difficult to build defenses against mages, but in this sort of circumstance where Insignum have the 4 magical up front, Optimus Gang, I mean, they had it from the start as far as the pressure is concerned.
Well then, on to the Phoenix line in mid we go. They've not pushed up the side lanes at all. Optimus Gang grouping as 5, looking to get the pressure on. Crucify happy to go in and take the CC from Genetics, who ults the team to reduce the damage. Bombs rain down from Farah quick, knocking Zero to half health already. And the middle Phoenix is down to half health at the moment as Optimus Gang just wait for the next minion wave.
But all Optimus Gang have to do is just wait things out. Genetics already fired off that Nox ultimate, hoping to get a little bit of that depower buff going for the team, and instead, Optimus Gang just, they don't have to worry.
It's just Genetics poking away with those silences. He needs to really hold those, not trying to set up damage because no one's going to go in. Crucify will though, Zero's going to ult, and here's the big old team fight. Zero's already below half health, ultimate on cooldown, he needs to return to base. Optimus Gang very, very healthy, and now it's their turn to go on the aggressive. Goodbye, Zero, we hardly knew you. The Aegis will keep you alive with the stun, but not the damage that follows. Death Panther in the sky, but on landing, the bomb rains down, gets his beak in Aegis. And meanwhile, Joshi on the front line goes down to Caspanify for a double kill.
Johnny will end up falling to Death Panther on the return, and Caspanify still trying to stay alive. Genetics was on top of him, but it's just not enough damage. Living Nightmare going to be utilized here, I think, for the slow. No, he just wanted the damage mitigations just in case. Death Panther, however, with the clap back onto Caspanify, will make sure to take his life in return. But with all 5 members of Insignum dead, it is going to be an easy one for Optimus Gang to finish off.
What a great start for Optimus Gang then in the fall split. Taking the scalp of Insignum. That's going to make Insignum have to go back to the drawing board now for the rest of their weeks remaining to work out what's going to change, because the biggest problem there is, well, you're expected to go to Worlds. A lot of teams looked at that, that'll be the team from the Mali to get there, but Optimus Gang's like, we can make it too.
They've been so dominant for so many splits already, and I think the big issue there for Insignum is they seem just a little bit too confident with their draft. That was a really risk versus reward composition to run. They were the ones that were actually pushing into Optimus's Gang's jungle at the start just to throw a ward on the speed buff to try and determine whether or not an invade was going to be a possibility, and all they find is just the entirety of Optimus Gang, or I should say Zero, finds. And from then on out, it just felt like it was way too much control.
Who do you think was MVP of that game, do you reckon? Who do you guys at home think was MVP of that game? It's kind of a tough one to call.
That's kind of a tough one to call. I think that all of Optimus Gang honestly worked really well together to kind of bring that one home. I think that each of their players had standout moments.
Johnny or Sibi are the two that probably screaming to me because the
Probably
Barra played very
Sibi.
well. And I think that first kill against Zhong in the solo was really good. Like pressuring under the tower and stuff, that was really solid.
And making sure that Zero just could not be effective in the slightest with that Zhong Kui.
It's going to be interesting for you guys to decide who you thought was that. But that's it for game 1. We've still got 3 more games to bring you so far. We're going to have a look at the stats from that game, however, and break it down of like what went on. Obviously, we know who won, but what ended up happening.
And as you can already tell, just so much more player damage in favor of Optimus Gang. I don't think that really comes as much of a surprise to anybody. Caspanify also with the 7-1 and 7 KDA. He was a large part of the fights. He just had the time of his life in the back line. No one could come near him. And the only moments where we really questioned his survivability options were Death Panther at the very end of the match.
Yeah, and he got a quadra kill because he still managed to pick it up enough. So that's a nice little play then from Optimus Gang, finding that win today. Have a little look back at some of these replays and see exactly what's going on with some of the moments there. Obviously, I'm guessing because Spotify's quadra might be around there too. But here's Johnny earlier on in the game looking to get the pressure on. As soon as Death Panther ults, goes straight in and looks to turn this around and actually finds himself the Jungle, which is definitely an easier target to find out. Johnny getting himself the MVP.
And these were just awesome moments to see from Optimus Gang. The way that these guys worked as a whole unit, I didn't feel like their composition really skipped a beat. Just the patience from Johnny also on a lot of these executes, really trying to wait out the Aegis, or if anything, forcing them, still made things incredibly problematic for Insignium to try and handle, because right when you think you're out of it, suddenly you have to worry about this Thanatos tearing down from the sky on top of you.
Why is it we don't see so much Thanatos in the SPL, but we do in the minor league?
I think it all just kind of depends on the player preference. Player preference, and I also think that at a minor league level, the gameplay is still at a point where I think it's effective to use just that brunt early game force, but in a competitive setting like the SPL, I think that the pros just have a little bit of a better grasp and understanding of how to properly deal with the Thanatos throughout the early game.
Optimus Gang find their first win, but it's time to move on then towards the next set. We can talk about Victoria's Secret versus Pappies, which is what we're about to come to next. The Pappies back in action again. Warchi, though, will be in the mid lane here. Instead, more changes for the Pappies. I think that's almost Warchi in every role possible in SMITE, barring the support role, I think.
Warchi is definitely a player with many different callings, I think, when it comes to competitive play, because we see him one moment trying to play Hunter, the next he's in the mid lane again, suddenly he's playing support. I don't even know at this point, quite frankly, but one thing is for sure, the guy is definitely very versatile in his God Pool selection, and I think that this might be a more favorable change for the Pappies, because Warchi has always struck me as more of a mage player anyway.
It comes across that way. He's definitely one of some people, to be fair, from the Hunter position, you can't really lead. For the solo lane where Warchi's played, I feel like it's difficult to lead then in the early stages. Mid lane, definitely a possibility.
Mid lane is definitely a possibility, but we'll just have to wait and see. For right now, we can tell that the Pappies certainly do not want to try and deal with this Chernobog or the Ninja for good reason. Global pressure, and Ninja just has a lot of early game pressure potential.
Oh, it's going to be Raven. Baron was available, not first picked by Victoria's Secret here. Victoria's Secret themselves, you've got Bars and Mr. Stefan and the likes. You've seen some of these guys around before too. Definitely some experienced players here. As Pappies now get the answer back. Do you go Baron? Do you take Baron?
I am not certain that the Poppies are going to want the Baron right away. I think that the crowd control that a Baron can provide to a team-fighting environment is definitely something to make him a priority pick, but as it currently stands, the Poppies have their own agenda underway. It's going to be the Agni and Circuit as a response towards the Robin.
Straight away, and then an Isis in response from Victoria's Secret. Very interesting to see Isis. Been a while since we've seen her. Definitely good at the wave clear. Not as much as she once was in terms of dominating fashion, because obviously the minions got a little bit more buffed and everybody else kind of came in tune too. But the Rama alongside it, so priority Hunter and mid lane for Victoria's Secret here.
And Rum is an interesting choice this early on, because I do feel as though he's one of the easier hunters for a Saket to try and punish throughout the laning phase. Curious to see what Victoria's Secret decide to pair this with, because they have all of their damage on lock. It's very evident that they were trying to focus on just ensuring that their carries had the gods that they were after. Now for frontline, I think that they do need some heavy peel or potential here. I would maybe consider a Geb even.
Geb, Athena, both still available at the moment. RTO banned away by Pappies though, because Gripple will cause some issues for that Circuit and Agni. Still surprised by Isis into Agni. That's a bit of a surprise for me. Normally, Agni has a pretty much easy time of that as soon as Isis goes to the Wind Gust. It's a skill matchup, but slightly favouring Agni.
I think so too, but I think it also kind of just depends on how well Victoria's Secret mid laner can connect with those Spirit Balls. You never know if an Agni tries to play a little bit too over-aggressive and you Spirit Ball him to the face, suddenly he's stuck halfway up the lane or more, and you have a great turnaround opportunity to try and take advantage of. Amaterasu, though, as Poppy's fourth choice, and having the Hercules online or locked in, it could be a Amaterasu support, I think. It's probably going to be... It's definitely more likely to be a Amaterasu support, I think, than jungle or solo.
Yeah, that's true. And maybe, although Hercules could jungle, could be on a solo, Fenrir is going to get locked in Victoria's Secret then, so they've got a nice bit of CC. And Fenrir got some recent buffs, and there's the Geb you were calling for, picked up for them. It's good against Circuit and Agni too. Not a bad little situation for Victoria's Secret, but what did Pappies take last? Oh, there you go.
Neath is a really interesting choice. She's got a pretty safe laning phase, I would say. Her big issue has always been how vulnerable she is in team fights because that backflip is just so predictable where she's going to land. But if the whole team can stay grouped up and together, then I think that this Neath pick can really work out for the Poppies. They just have to make sure to focus out whoever Neath is isolating with that World Weaver.
Fenrir rather than solo is the question.
Oof. Probably Fenrir.
You reckon?
I think that I would rather see a Fenrir in the solo lane just because Fenrir can be a bit of a lane bully. But if it is Fenrir in the jungle and Robin solo, I still think that Robin can certainly deal with a Hercules.
Well, it's going to be Geb solo. Okay then, let's see how this works out for them. In goes straight away with the early invades. Everybody thinks that Cheese is going to pay off for them. Well, let's find out Pappies get that way. Julio and combines to get himself the swing of a lifetime to get first blood on the little Isis in the mid lane. And now he's got that bonus gold. What will he do with it is the question. Well, he'll pop a health potion and look like they're going to trap and bait. This is EU, realizing it's best of ones trying things at the start that, well, they may look like they work at the beginning, but it still evens out very quickly.
Well, I'm really just curious to see if Julio is going to be able to actually invade this B buff. Draco Marino is joining him as well, and Marcus seems to have just spotted them out. No, in fact, zero idea that this Hercules and Amaterasu are waiting behind the rock up until Miss Sixer shows up.
I don't know sure about this call now just to waste this much time, but it is allowing them to get pressure in the mid lane. However, left-hand side, Victoria's Secret have already taken out the entire wave and left. Now could look to invade the red buff themselves. But there is a ward down in the jungle for Pappies there as we're tuning in with the speed buff fight still. Mr. Stefan could be a casualty for the second time here. Julio getting low too, though, against the three members. Draco Marino wants to at least get the speed buff, and he gets it, and he's on the run. Run, Draco, run! He's going to get away.
He's not only getting away, but he's running towards his team as well. Nice shockwave there from Sixer, but at the cost of his blink. Not too sure that that was really worth it. Dracomino manages to get out of there, no problem. And Mr. Stefan, well, probably a little bit happier to have received that assist because it's always fun, I think, watching the guy who just first blooded you die in return immediately after.
Might be, but then you realize that your solo laner, your jungler, and your mid lane are all level 1. Victoria's Secret are definitely at a deficit at the start of the game now. When you look across Warchi at that level 2, working towards level 3 already. And it's actually forcing Marcus towards the mid lane for Victoria's Secret now just to soak some experience because the jungle on the right-hand side has been stripped.
Streak Up and Boss were able to invade the Poppy's jungle, though, so they're not entirely missing out. I think that dueling's in a great spot, but same can't be said for Warchi. Caught out in that dash. Jumper the wall from Worst Turtle. It's going to be focused onto Marcus. Beautiful teamwork.
Wow. Honestly, Warchi was just a little bit too far forward. Should have died there, but right place, right time for a Worst Turtle. He was doing the right-hand harpies and goes, oh, I best jump into this. Gets a double kill for himself, and the Pappies are up 3-1 already. And Victoria's Secret now just begging for farm at this point, I feel like.
Mr. Stefan is in a really awkward position now as this Isis because I think it comes as no surprise to anybody that Isis is a guy you pick because you want pressure. And when you die twice within the first 2 minutes of a game, the last thing you're probably going to be able to get in mid lane is pressure.
It's up to Victoria's Secret now to try and answer some of this back. They're looking towards the left-hand side here at the red buff, which they do know is coming up relatively soon. Streak Up's already got his around the waist that he stole earlier on. And Chekio on this left-hand side, one of the newer members of the Pappies now in the hunter position on this Neath. Just going to sit here, farm up, and three-man group and then Victoria's Secret around the red. And only Draco Marino nearby, but the collapse is coming from mid lane now, just a little bit too late as the red is stolen away. We're still going to blink in and find the kiss.
Mr. Stefan, his beach just came back up off cooldown, and they're already burned out yet again. Worst Turtle on the run right now. 3 members of Victoria's Secret surrounding him, but the real advantage is the Poppies.
Real advantage is that Warchi managed to find that stone combo and get the chase going some more. In goes Worst Turtle again. Kiss should be off cooldown very soon. Marcus just trying to juke out the abilities. Can't in time. One more attack will do it. It goes to Chekio. Even Julio coming over from the solo lane.
That was a close one for Streak Up. That rollout barely got him away from the Earthbreaker. Had that connected, he definitely see a 3-for-0 exchange in favor of the Poppies because I do not imagine a way for the ROM to survive with all of the Poppies members right there in the jungle.
Oh yeah, the Poppies are turning up right now and they're here to play, trying to take this game down as quick as possible and keep the pressure rolling. Westall now level 5. He is on the left-hand side, but with his blink on cooldown, he's going to be more respectful of going aggressive. His dual lane wasn't really interested with that full wave there. So instead, heads back towards the mid lane now. The question I'm looking at, Taco, is I guess you're looking at Bars and Streak Up as the hope for Victoria's Secret to start trying to, get back into this game.
That's the mentality that you want your team to have, at least, but I'm not too sure that team morale is as high as that, considering Mr. Steffen's start 0-3 on this ISIS. He has just been completely abused by the Poppies, and this is all just the Poppies heavily focusing him, by the way. I'm not trying to say by any means that Mr. Steffen is throwing himself wildly out of position. It's just that as an ISIS, there are certain disadvantages that you definitely have to experience it and just learn how to withstand. But in Mr. Steffen's case, he just never really had the opportunity.
Now, take into account if you're tuning in that this is not Season 2, 3, or 4, or even 1. Season 5, it means there's a little bit easier to catch up. There's a lot less, but a bit more forgiveness in the game of being behind this early. The snowball is a bit trickier to do, but if you can get it off, you can really punish people, and that's what's going on right now. Marcus gets ulted in towards Julio. Boulder's available, the poison's ticking, so Ambush will go through and pick up the kill. Meanwhile, Mr. Stefan focused at the red buff again. Victoria's Secret trying to secure it for themselves. Won't be the case. Stolen by the Poppies one more time.
Not to mention, Boss can't even try to help defend his jungler's speed buff because Julio's all over that one already. The only one from Victoria's Secret who hasn't really felt too much pressure is the Geb and I guess Streak Up.
That's true. I mean, if Streak Up can keep farming and Geb can get going too, they're going to have a lot of damage for themselves to survive some of this influx. Problem being is the reason Julio's having such a fun time of things, Taco, is because he's against a Geb. So he's not going to have a whole lot of pressure. Streak Up now, though. Cast a curse. He's getting focused here by the dual lane of the Poppies.
Ooh.
Missed it.
Checkio did not connect with that Spirit Arrow, and as a result, Streak Up didn't need to use those Purification Beads probably, but better safe than sorry.
Definitely. I mean, to be fair, you got to rely on them. You expect them to hit those more than not, so it's better to play it safe and realize you should get hit by that stun. 7 kills already. My oh my. Pappy's sharing the wealth around. Worst total, though, with 4 of them involved in 6 kills. Nearly got that Jotun's complete. Or the Crusher. It's more than likely Jotun's, though. We see most of the times on circuits. You want that cooldown reduction.
Circuit with cooldown reduction is also incredibly beneficial ever since her Deathbane received a couple of nerfs back in the day and affecting that cooldown timer just a little bit, but
look at those blessings. The fact that the mid lane and the jungle blessings are already complete at 6 minutes in is pretty impressive. When you look at across the way, it's a bit of a different story there.
The only one really close to finishing off their blessing is Streak Up, and well, where's Turtle with a 3-level advantage over Marcus? It's going to be some tough stuff, I think, for this Robin to recover, especially with the way that the Poppies are choosing to invade non-stop.
Well, Victoria's Secret tried to walk towards mid lane through that narrow corridor against an Agni, and they were behind already. And now they're just going to get run down like dogs, and that's not because there's a Fenrir involved at all, but he's already dead. The damage is just too much, and one basic from Warchi. He used to play Hunter. He can fly with one of those to secure a kill on Mr. Stefan for his 5th death of the game.
I don't see Marcus really all that interested in trying to defend that red buff. Sometimes you just got to learn to let it go. And speaking of which, Draco Marino actually taking a little bit of heavy poke there out of the Robin. But since he has his team right behind him, there's no commit that could be made.
Julio versus Skix, and Skix are forced to shield and ult defensively to get away from Julio, who's in a much better sustained position here, having those heals. But Skix has got a couple of potions available for him to try and survive. But I don't think Julio's done. He wants blood. They're definitely feeling themselves now Pappies with how it's gone so far this game. With an 8-kill lead at less than 8 minutes in. Well, I would be too.
Also important to note is that...
Yeah, that's what you get.
Julio,
that's what you get. Don't mess with Geb.
I am a bit surprised that he chose to do that underneath half health. That was letting the lead play him.
I'm sorry, Julio, but that was embarrassing. It was so telegraphed.
Well, it's
like,
just...
I'm going to dive the tower. I'm going to try and all-in you, and it's still a Geb.
I thought maybe he was just going to attack the tower because it was so low. I think he could have just sieged that tower outright before Sixer was able to finish killing the creep wave with the shockwave. And going for the kill there, I get it. You want the pressure and you want to show who's boss, but at what cost?
Cup's a little bit too far forward there, pressure in the lane, and he's going to get punished for it heavily. Yes, Bars is on the rotation, but he won't be able to save him. Sure, a stun will be good. Oh, no. Draco, what? Okay, thank you. I was like, there's no way he gets out. Does Checkio get out? No, 1 for 1 then. Okay, boss. Played it well, I guess, overall. The double stun grouped up, but I'm surprised.
That's
So
the best
surprised.
case scenario that you could have possibly imagined for Streak up there, because there is almost no reason why Czechia should have been allowed to, or why Streak Up should have been allowed to survive as long as he did there.
No, I get it. I'm very surprised myself. Still no Gold Furies in this game, though. So far, it's about a 3,000 gold lead for the Pappies at 9 minutes in, so you work that down. It's a pretty good situation to be in. It's not complete doom and gloom. One Gold Fury will probably cut that lead in half for sure if Victoria's Secret can snatch it or steal it away potentially. But the first thing they need to try and do is control their jungle. Wachi walks in, drops some bombs, has to beads. And Stefan has to use a circle of protection, which doesn't give a whole lot. And Gem's now body block. Force to Cataclysm still can't realize that he can't walk through that gap just by ulting. They'll still stay in the same position. And has to fall back once more.
But the Poppies, I do feel, in comparison to the very first 5 minutes, actually hold that thought, because Streak Up now just going to get absolutely decimated by that boulder from Julio. No chance of survival this time around. Julio is done playing games after that dive.
3 members on zone duty here. We're still coming round, though, and it's about the Gold Fury at first. But in goes Marcus looking for the kill on Wachi. As soon as he does, Wachi turns around and gives him the flaming hands as Worst Turtle dips in and out of mid lane to tell Stefan, hey, you've only had 5 deaths. Why not make it 6? Baz is going to learn to fire that. That he does. There we go. Good boy.
He's just going to be met with the driving strike, though, out of the tower line. And Boz, with no more mana, there's just no more kill potential. In fact, Julio now trying to do a little bit of turn and burn onto Boz. Beautiful shield out of 6 are going to make sure to keep that Fenrir alive. But that's 100% a primary example of Boz biting off a little bit more than he could chew.
Literally. Gold Fury now started up then by the Pappies. They're already 5k up. This could make it at least 6.5 as they burn this one down. And this guy, though, didn't find it. I love the idea from Streaker. He was just still in the jungle off camera, and I was like, well, I guess that Snipe's coming out here. Maybe gets a cheeky one, but not enough damage, especially without Devour's Gauntlets even online or stacked at this moment in time. Not going to have the power needed.
I think he just managed to get up into the sky, so he didn't have time either to fire off the first 2 shots of Astral Barrage to look for the 3rd shot to deal the most damage for a steal.
You play a lot of Hunter, right? What's better? Is it just fire all 3 shots as quick as you can, or fire the 2 shots away?
It depends on where the Gold Fury is at. If Gold Fury is at 50% or higher, you can fire the first 2 as like warning shots to see if they'll disengage from the objective. But if the Gold Fury is really low, you want to try and spam out your first 2 as quickly as possible to look for the big damage swing on the 3rd one for a steal.
Well, the Sandcastle comes towards the mid lane. Warchi misses with the stun and the bomb in tow. But still, Pappy's looking to play aggressive. They want to try and group, really, and I think that's what the call was. But Victoria's Secret, hey, you want to dive us? Against a Geb and an Isis, you don't really want to be diving too much. You want to poke them at range more than anything.
Sixer is probably the most successful player right now on Victoria's Secret in this game so far. He's the only member who has yet to suffer any deaths, has actually been a part of 2 out of 3 of the kills, and some of these Geb shields have saved the lives of his teammates. It just, even for a moment, it's the little wins over time that could eventually maybe amount to something positive for Victoria's Secret, but that start was just so brutal for them, and the Poppies have been non-stop smothering Victoria's Secret for the right reasons.
I don't think it was just the start. I think it was just what they did after the initial first blood and allowed it to get worse than it could have actually been. So that's put the pressure on.
Oh yeah, I should clarify. By start, I mean the first 10 minutes of this match.
Yeah.
Because
not just the beginning of the game. With that first
I kind of forget at times, not going to lie, that this is only approaching the 13-minute mark right now, and this sort of lead has already been established by the Poppies.
And granted, Poppies have played it very well to get to this point. There was nearly a chance for Victoria's Secret to get back into it in mid lane when Watching nearly fell for the blood in response, but Worst Turtle getting that double kill. I think that's what kind of put them on the back foot right from the beginning, was when Worst Turtle picked up the double at the mid lane.
There's been a few instances, I would say, that Victoria's Secret have just had their plans completely backfire on them, and that especially seems to be the case for Mr. Stefan. This Isis pick that he was aiming to have so much pressure on, there is, I mean, any god that's behind this much in SMITE is always going to feel pretty bad. But Isis is one of those guys that I think can be particularly bad whenever she is behind numerous levels in gold and experience, because you just don't have a way to really stand your own ground.
Oh, Chekio getting aggressive with that back flip, going forward, looks for the root, doesn't find it, but those basics are really swinging on Streak Up. Meanwhile, in mid lane, pressure onto the tier 1 tower. Bars jumps in to avoid the bomb and stuns in place, and now going to use his ultimate too, knowing he's taking it up into the circle of protection to go. In comes Julio to help out, but burst goes from Stefan to kill the support, but now Marcus is out of the fight. Bar still in here with 6-2. Left-hand side, Streak Up forced back to base for a moment. Tier 1 does fall in the mid lane, however.
Heavy investment of ultimates there, though, from Victoria's Secret, and they weren't even able to defend the T1 tower. In the end, the Poppies still accomplished their main goal, and that was to siege that mid lane tower. So Mr. Stefan, he's already been struggling this match for survivability. Hold that thought, though, because Worst Turtle taking Streak Up for a little bit of a ride here. Instead, no, Worst Turtle, he could have this turned on him.
Bars is going to come around the corner too. He can leap and then look for the damage afterwards. But good work from Chekio to help heal, and Worst Turtle time the ambush nicely. So those two will escape as the other members have started up the Pyromancer. Marcus has been spotted out. Going to walk around the corner. Now he's going to eat a Will Weaver too. Skix is on the way to try and help him out. But the Boulder's going to make sure that opportunity isn't even presented.
Reasons why Neath is not fun to deal with. Number ability,
Number 50,
I'm not even sure, because that has got to be one of the most frustrating experiences as a player, is trying to run away. You time your overhead kick perfectly to avoid a CC moment, and then you get hit by a Neath from halfway across the map anyway.
The good Neaths know to look at the minimap and watch the fights going on, and not necessarily go for the kill, but for the supportive aspect of it too. That's exactly what it was. There was a huge supportive aspect to set up the kill. 14-4, gold lead. Approaching 8,000. That's pretty big.
That's pretty steep for only 15 and a half minutes in, and Victoria's Secret are feeling every single little bit of it, because Boss just now ticking in level 11. 3 of the carries sitting at level 11. Well, scratch that. Marcus finally hitting that level 12 in comparison to Worst Turtle, who's been 12 and beyond that for some time now. Level 14 for the Circuit. 5-0-4 also. He's just been all over the map, and I think that it's been just, I wouldn't call it ambitious from Victoria's Secret with some of their responses, but definitely unnecessary at times where they choose to challenge.
Yeah, and I think that's where some of the issues came from, like developed further and further, where they were trying to force things to get themselves back into it, where the option was, the risk was not as good as the reward, let's put it that way. And in the end, it's just allowed Pappies to continue, and this could be the call of a dying game, as they went for the Fire Giant for a second, and that was a damage check with themselves and went, nope, we do not have the best damage to do the Fire Giant right now, especially without Streak Up being there as the Hunter. Bar's going to get kissed, and instead he's going to kiss Circuit in the mouth too, and she's going to get pulled under the tower and lose half her health.
Well, it took Worst Turtle down to half health,
Yeah.
and that's still going to be enough, I think, to force him at least to farm for a little bit, as opposed to aggressing directly onto Victoria's Secret. But Sixer, it's been spotted out by Draco Marino, was trying to look to defend his T1 tower, I believe. Well, I don't even know if he'll be allowed these back piece.
Well, he'll get the big one. That's the main thing. The big camp's always important. He may lose the tier 1 on the right side of them, or he's going to get collapsed on. Wandering around the jungle like a headless stone Geb at the moment. Not sure why. And not from basics, not using abilities. World Weaver immune by Marcus for the overhead kick. Wachi actually in all the trouble here. He's going to get some help from his team again. And I tell you what, Worst Turtle joining this team has really helped them out a lot, because he's quite happy to support his team and do what's necessary. Skix are forced to ult, but he's still going to get bombs raining down on him. Circle of protection dropped down, no one inside it, as Wachi is still alive. The Soul Gem is really coming up fortuitous, or is it?
The level of appeal for Warchi right then and there from the Poppies was just bizarre. I cannot believe they managed to keep Warchi alive for that long. Streak Up going to be forced out of those purification beads right now, just running through his T2 tower, hoping that somebody can help him. Driving Strike going to follow him into the Phoenix even, and the Earthbreaker finally to finish off the kill. The chase pays off.
Well, the Scorpion is chasing the chicken. I mean, kind of knew where that one was going with how this game has gone so far. Worst Turtle gets the DSI for the Pappies, gives himself his 6th kill of the game, 6th death for Mr. Stefan, and I don't think we'll see too much more ISIS going forward.
I want to give a special shout out though to Sixer, because we saw how strong the peel was from the Poppies for Warchi, but we didn't really get a chance to talk about Sixer's peel for Boss, because I think that was perfect usage of the shield into the Geb shell to keep that Fenrir alive. He would have made it out as well had it not been for Julio blinking in.
The thing is, Taco, though, we're talking about a solo laner keeping a support alive. Shouldn't it be the other way around? You know, wouldn't it be a bit more impactful? Like, I get Geb solo. Don't get me wrong. If you've not seen the stats, I'm gonna toot my own horn here. I'm in the top 3 of Geb players in ranked around the world. That's how good I am.
Well, speaking of which, Marcus not feeling so good himself. Will manage to live out the duration of that last breath, and he's going to manage to get away because the taunt wasn't there to connect. Worst Turtle, had he managed to finish him off with the Cobra's Kiss, I think we see an entirely different outcome there for the Robin, but instead, he will live to see another day.
And now it's all up to what Pappies can do next. I mean, they've got a few towers left to take down. Right inside Tier 1's on its last legs. Tier 2 also available. Nothing in the mid lane. And Victoria's Secret can barely get in their own jungle here. Barely. They've just pressured all the way back. The wall coverage is beautiful out from the Pappies. Wall coverage from Victoria's Secret. Lackluster to say the least right now.
They can't even afford wards at this point. I really don't think that they can afford to be buying wards right now because I know that they have a couple of sentries online. Boss even went for the Oracle Chalice, but it is just not looking hot right now for Victoria's Secret in terms of being able to defend even underneath their own structures. I mean, at a certain point, there is a limit as to how deep a lead can run, but leads this massive, this early on into a match, they don't really provide an opportunity for the bounce back moments. I think here was just an instance of Victoria's Secret taking too many fights early on and kind of playing into the Poppy's aggression as opposed to just accepting the loss of their buffs.
Well, I will say the Poppy's intro back to the full split and Warchi's first game in the mid lane for them is working out fortuitous. It's looking like a good sign for all the Poppy's fans out there. If Warchi's able to come out from the mid lane and shout and scream for help all the time he's going to get it, then we could be seeing the Spaniards manage to get themselves to Worlds. I know it's only week 1, but it's a possibility.
Well, you never really know what to expect, actually, because we saw Insignum take a loss earlier also in the last match. So I think that some of these teams that were maybe expecting things to go a little bit as before actually hold that thought. Pause off the mark with that jump stun. I think that's what he was aiming for onto Warchi. Instead, even if he had connected, though, he's level 13. I'm not sure that would have worked out in his favor.
Bit of split push from Worst Turtle, keep Marcus busy as you saw as well. Stefan forced to beat and get back to base, I should say. Draco Marino hangs around a little bit longer, but silences away. The bombs rain down again as Warchi picks up Bass. Now the knock-up is good from Julio, bringing in Stixer, and the Gep is down. Second death for him. Middle Phoenix is at half health, still grouped up with the Pappies. Juggling the aggro at the moment is Marcus poking away as his streak up and Mr. Stefan, but it's still not stopping the Pappies from getting that left-hand Phoenix.
Didn't even need the wave to finish it off, and now they're looking towards that mid Phoenix, which the creeps are here for. Julio won't have to take this one up for much longer if he doesn't want to. In fact, Poppies, they could even be looking to close in pretty soon here onto the Titan, or they may just look to play it safe.
Yeah, they may. I don't think there's a reason to play it any more aggressive than that. You've got 2 Phoenixes down, you've got a massive lead. Why give them a small window to get back into it? Because the Gold Fury was up anyway. 5 giant respawns after a recall, pretty much. Better safe than sorry. What an opening day for Minor League, though. 2 games in, and we're watching Victoria's Secret lose to Pappies. And we're also looking at the fact that we saw Insignum lose to Optimus Gang 2. Wow.
Anything can happen.
Split. Yeah.
Anything can happen in the fall split, and I think that some teams really do need to bear in mind that going for all of these low-pressure side lanes, it might not be the way to do it if you see the enemy team drafting primarily for early game pressure, because outside of Marcus and Mr. Stefan, I'm not really sure how Victoria's Secret were aiming at winning the laning phases.
Week 1s are always the most interesting for the fact that nobody knows what the other teams are going to do. You don't know what's meta yet. Nobody's really decided on the correct itemization, the correct gods to be selected. Everyone wants to experiment and believes they have the answer to get themselves to the top of the standings. By week 2, week 3, week 4, you see it develop and you start to see it open up a little bit more. There's a few names that you spout here and there, like Freya and Baron and Chernobog. They're definitely 3. Niger, probably the 4th that you could put on that list of gods that you'd expect to see regularly. But across the league, you've seen so many differences. Agni's definitely been a staple, though, for sure.
Agni has certainly made a very strong debut so far here, and Warchi as well, I think, as the transition over from Hunter to mid laner, didn't even skip a beat, it seems.
No, it seemed to work out pretty well for him as well. He get support from his team when he needed it, and it's just allowed him to push his team further forward. Now 12k in the player damage, joined by Julio and Chekio with their player damage in tow. Top 3, all of them are the Pappies as the Fire Giant falls for the second time.
And Fire Giant falling here really comes as no surprise to Victoria's Secret. I think they were just waiting for this moment to arise because there's only one Phoenix left standing for the team and making their final stand. This could just be the all-in they're going to go for.
Sixer only catches one with a blink, but instantly Draco Marino ulted in response. Bars will pick up Draco Marino, but carrying the tank into tower range with a Fire Giant may not get him the kill he's after. Draco Marino is still alive. Meanwhile, Bass, not so lucky. World Weaver will clean that up and get him a double kill. So this guy goes streak up to avoid some of the damage, but on landing, he's got people waiting from his Warchi. Takes out Mr. Stefan, and that's a triple kill for the newly designated Hunter for the Pappies.
The only member left standing is Marcus, and he knows that there is nothing he can do but watch as his team falls victim to the Poppies at the very start of the Season 5 fall split.
Yeah, great start from the Poppies, honestly. From moment 1, they get that first blood, invade the jungle. There's no real response from Victoria's Secret there on how to answer the back. They could have just gone to wave and given up the speed buff, gone to the left-hand side of the map. They chose to take a fight, and actually wasted 3 members' time there doing that. Didn't even get the buff.
They wasted a lot of time, I think, just kind of chasing around and falling victim, I would say, to the Poppy's trap card, which was to try and, I think, disorient them at the start with those over-aggressive strategies.
Yeah, throw people off the game at the start. We've seen it work in the Pro League before. We've seen it across multiple games of SMITE 2. Can just tilt the opposition, and I feel like it's kind of what happened there. You guys get to choose, though, who you thought was MVP. In that game, I think Warchi stands out as well. I think Worst Turtle was probably the saving grace to allow this to happen.
Worst Turtle did a fantastic job because that level 3 engagement in the mid lane is what really set the tone there. I think that was where the frustration sank in for the team, especially for Mr. Stefan. You have to feel bad for the guy there because that Isis was just not allowed to do anything.
Awkward situation there, but let's have a look at the stats of how that game played out. Who's going to be happy with how that went out? Well, Worst Turtle will, because he didn't suffer a single death, so his KDA is through the roof.
Also, Chekio, I think, on this Neath, did a fantastic job with his map awareness. I know that in competitive play, you have comms and team synergy that can help guide you through with that, but Neath just rises to an entirely different level of relevant whenever you're able to just utilize the World Weaver so frequently.
Yeah, I do think he had an okay game. It's going to be interesting to see how he tests out throughout the rest of the league, though, because he was pretty much able to just free farm in that lane. No real pressure with how the rest of the map ended up going there. So Chekio, good opening game for him. Across the way, though, I think the one players I mentioned there, Streak Up, I think he had a pretty good game, actually, on that Rama, considering. He did a very good job of surviving and putting out the damage where he could, even though his team were at a pretty rough deficit.
The Sixer and Streak Up, I think, were both kind of just dead by association with the rest of their team. I don't think that they really did anything particularly wrong throughout the duration of that match. They were just simply too far behind. And even when they did try to combine forces there, it was just too little too late.
Well, if you didn't notice there, it's Warchi that got the MVP. I am shocked, Pappies fans. That's all you ever vote for is Warchi. But he did have a pretty good game for himself overall. Released most of the damage of the team. The Agni bomb stuns from range, getting the beads out of Mr. Stefan time and time again. Just the flame wave into combustion was so useful. Multiple times, and I just showed it there. Just got lots of damage off, and that's when we saw Marcus get a little bit frustrated and go for the all-in against Warchi, and, well, ate all that burn damage. Nice little pick.
And it wasn't even just that alone. Every single time Warchi looked for the stun onto someone, it was usually met with yet another kill from someone else on his team. There was just so much follow-up for this Agni. The pick worked out beautifully for the team.
Well, 2 games down in the minor league so far. We've got 2 more to bring you, but me and Tak are going to take a quick break. And after that break, we'll come back with the remaining 2 matches of minor league for Europe today. Don't forget, though, still SPL later on at 3. We'll see you guys later.
Hey, what's going on, folks? Tom and Tolly here, bringing you the latter half of our minor league action. We've got a couple of matches up for you coming up. It's going to be Exordium and Sacred Speed Buff, and then later on we'll see Insignum one more time.
A lot of spicy matchups thus far. It's been a best of one. Optimus Gang beating out Insignum previously. That means anything can go. Whenever the summer champions lose this time around, this gives more freedom for the lesser teams.
Absolutely. So we'll see how everything sort of lines up here. Exordium has looked pretty strong. Sacred Speed Buff should be interesting. Picks and Bans going to be on their way. Anything you're expecting out of these two teams?
A lot of Freya specifically. Freya has been very popular amongst the SPL teams with some of the changes being able to pass through minions. And when I'm looking at this team versus team, I'm looking at Sacred Speed Buff. A little bit more historically known are some of the players, specifically Get Fisher in that jungle role.
Yeah, he's been all around the various leagues, so we'll see how that one works out and how everybody sort of lines up. But what I'm looking forward to is seeing just how these teams sort of lay out their picks. You were mentioning Freya. I want to see some more of the Najas. I want to see some more of the interesting stuff. But right away, we have a Discordia ban, which is a little bit out of the ordinary.
It might be a specific targeted band. Out of Exordium, it's going to be Angry Day playing that mid position. It could be one of his comfort picks. We saw yesterday, I believe it was Baskin versus Venenu in the SPL, where Venenu picked that Discordia very early in the draft. Still has a lot of merit considering that if you get a Naja, for example, and a Discordia, physical power on the passive of Naja, more power from the Discordia passive, that just keeps adding up.
Yeah, Discordia is certainly going to work out well, but banned out, so that leaves Freya, as the Baron and Chernobog are going to be banned out by the other side. So fantastic stuff already. Robin going to be the jungle of choice for XO. So where do you expect Robin to be paired up with? I usually like to see Robin with some extra damage. Ymir is going to be control and damage, though.
That's a good mix to shut down a Freya. You want to be able to drop those walls. Robin should be going in the jungle position as a glass cannon build. If I'm thinking about the recent changes, going from a warrior to an assassin, less health but more damage, I like that burst damage potential, and that's the way you shut down the Freya. You don't allow her any breathing room.
Well, there's the Naja that I was looking for. Certainly a powerful jungler in his own right. And Athena is going to team up with the rest of the squad, looking to provide some support by way of global presence and obviously a little bit of taunt action coming up as well. Agni across the way is also going to bring control. And right away, the blue and white, they are bringing a ton of crowd control and just ability control already.
And it's only 2 gods out of the 5 that they currently have. These 2 old school gods between the Ymir and the Agni. You can never really go wrong pairing them in the same team composition. If a player's about to get away, you wall them away. And then you have the Agni just playing so safe behind the environmental walls or even behind your own Ymir wall playing safe.
Robin even provides some crowd control himself, a little bit of slow, a little bit of root, and a bit of damage. So gotta watch out for that guy with the hot hands. 2 hunters banned out on the right side. On the left side, looks like we've got at least one, with Artemis being banned out.
And so far, I think that the game plan from Exordium was to allow this Freya and Naja to go through on purpose, only because they wanted to play this Ymir so early in the draft, and they were still going for these gods that can't get over the walls. Naja can't get over, Athena can't get over without use of the ultimate, and Freya needs to use that ultimate to be able to fly over.
Rom going to be the hunter of choice for the blue team. Meanwhile, Sacred Speed Buff on the other side. Thinking about things, they need a hunter, and that's going to be Medusa. And they need a solo lane, unless that's where they're going to put their Athena. So looking at this draft, Tolly, what would you play?
From the solo lane, well, don't have time to really even give my analysis there because Kakoa locked in just like that. Needed something to be able to jump over that Ymir wall. It's still kind of up in the air where this Ymir is going to be going with a Magical Guardian still open on the table. You can run Ymir solo, you can run Ymir in that dual lane. Ymir Ram, very heavy push potential. And surprised Medusa was locked in. Another hunter that can't really jump over the wall. I was expecting an Uller.
Well, Osiris going to be the Bruiser Brigade on the right side of the map, so we'll see how that one works out. Early game dominance from the guys over there. Who's going to win is the question that we pose to you guys out there in chat, whether it's Sacred Speed Buff or it's going to be Exodium. That's the question that we're going to ask, and that's the question we're going to answer once we hit the battlefield. Looking at these 2 drafts, Tolly, I like what Sacred Speed Buff have going for them. A whole lot of power.
A whole lot of late game damage potential, but there's just more crowd control coming from Exordium. The Agni, the Ymir, constant slows from Osiris, the single target root in isolation coming out of Robin, but The side is Sacred Speed Buff has more experience, I believe, collectively, so they should have that edge going into this game.
Well, Exordium grouped up as 5, going to be looking for the enemy and not finding them because Sacred Speed Buff also grouped up as 5, looking for the enemy and not going to find them because Exordium grouped up as 5 and looking for the enemy, but they're not going to find them.
Nope. It's funny that they kind of are two ships passing along the night on the opposite ends of the battlefield, where one side was warding on the right, but no real wards committing on the left. Normally, when you make this kind of 5-man grouping, you want to identify where the enemy's jungler is going, and that's why Exordium went for the speed buff side, so that way they know, is Getfisher going to commit to the back camps or the blue buff after getting the speed, or is it going to make that rotation onto the red buff, get level 2, and then look to make an early dual lane gank?
Especially on a character like Naja, certainly a nice push there. Interesting start here as well for Getfisher, starting off the Buckler. Where do you think he's going to go with this build?
It's got to be easily the Gladiator Shield. Just so easy to be able to go for that sustain off of every single ring bounce that you hit onto several members.
Right now, decent damage coming out from Sacred Speed Buff in the left lane. I mean, Ken 6 just getting down really low.
But that 8-second Glacial Strike, he's going to be able to just swing that big old mallet at his leisure. And with the conjunction of Rom, the lane clear is just so dominant. With all that poke damage, sure, you got to use a little bit more potions, but you set yourself up for the potential to invade purple.
Look at that red buff invade coming out from the Cucullin. So the big SB starts on the left side enemy jungle, goes for the red buff before anybody even leaves lane, and then teleports back over to the short side. He loses a little bit there, still only level 1 versus Cozy, but he's given the sort of the advantage to the rest of his team.
Experience per minute deficit in the solo lane, but you're making up for it by denying the opposing dueling, denying the opposing jungler and mid lane, so you're hurting 4 people by proxy by only hurting yourself in the process.
And as a Cucullin, you don't necessarily need your mana buff, so you can take the red buff, and that also is going to assist you in that lane as well, right?
The biggest difference, though, is between all the pros and cons is now the fact that he already had to back the big SB, that teleport on cooldown for 160 seconds, whereas Cozy going for a very aggressive opening. He rushed the tier 2 boots, and now he uses teleport to have the tier 3 boots. So he already has a huge physical power advantage, 45 to be exact.
Won't have the sustain from the Warrior's Blessing, though. Missed sash coming out from Getfisher, so that's not going to work out for him. But so Cozy giving up, well, the protections, I think, on the Warrior Blessing a little bit less to write home about than the actual sustain. I mean, totally, how much is he losing there?
Well, with some of the nerfs to Warrior's Blessing, it goes from 100 health down to 75 health, and now every single proc off of 10 seconds went from 40 health and mana to 30 health and mana. So I don't think it's that big of a deal by going this option, because he still needs to worry about some of these magic damage dealers as the game progresses. In the mid game specifically, Agni is going to bring the pain, so I think the big SB is already setting not only himself up for the mid game, but the rest of his team with that red buff invade.
Yeah, certainly a nice look, because now his team also has the timer on it. They're going to know where to go repeatedly, and they're going to be able to really identify, you know, what's worthwhile. But here, Exordium doing exactly what they should as we speak about it, and denying the red buff invade to the enemy squad.
But what you gain, you lose in the flip side. During that red buff from Exordium, Sacred Speed Buff went for the neutral oracles. A little bit of a blue buff invade against Getfisher. This is the disadvantage that Big SB has, is that he can't assist Getfisher by securing his own blue buff.
Yeah, he's got to walk to lane. His teleport's still on cooldown for another minute. So SB won't be able to go ahead and grab that one.
And losing only 1 blue buff, not the end of the world. If you lose 2, 3, that's where it can get a little bit dicey, especially when you're giving oldest golden experience to Osiris that already has this 2-level lead.
And that's the key right there, Toli, is that we already mentioned that as a Cucullin, you don't really need the mana. You've got the rage, a completely different mechanic, but you are going to miss the golden experience that comes from that side camp, and you're going to be feeling that. So certainly, like you said, 1 or 2, not a big deal. But once it starts to get out of control, then you really know. I'm just saying what you already said. You just notice how it goes down. And I mean, that's both, you see that all across different skill levels.
Oh, solo kill potential, but de-transforming just in the nick of time to be able to jump away. But look at this, Big SB has to back yet again. But luckily for him, the timing works out as his teleport just now coming off of cooldown. He'll be able to complete that warrior tab by, but Cozy X is still very healthy, and his teleport coming off in the next wave.
Uh-oh, there's trouble for Aika. Flippo over the wall, can't find the shots at all. That was nowhere near accurate.
No, not unfortunately. The distance couldn't cover it. The speed buff Robin with tier 2 boots up against the no boots from Flippo that wanted to rush this Book of Thoth.
5 minutes in here. And a little bit of a quelling of the action. We got some action earlier on watching the invade come out. And there's the combo, the taunt into the ultimate, but a nice wall from Popular is going to be able to just cut everybody off. So big damage coming out, but the Ymir able to live to see another wave as he cancels his back. And hashtag one more waves it.
Man, every single member, I think all across the map, is getting into a lot of action, but just no deaths quite yet. It's going to be interesting to see once these gods get a little bit higher level as their damage output's going to just naturally increase based off of the levels. And I'm expecting it to happen around the solo side more than anywhere else. This Freya versus Agni matchup has been relatively quiet. Neither one of them wanted to get in range of the other's poke.
Such a weird thing to see Freya just taken on by the mid laners. Because she's not... what an odd character these days. Is she a mid laner, Toli?
Well, Zero's tried to make Freya a mid laner before the buffs. Hold that thought, though, because making the play is Get Fisher, and that's going to... Oh, it's not going to be first blood.
He misses the basic attack. Alka's able to get on out of there. Get Fisher can't seal the deal. Oh, man, that was just a bad play.
Well, he did everything that he could. The rest of his teammates just weren't there to seal the deal.
He could hit him with the basic of the ring bounce.
It was the overhead kick immediately after landing that bought Alka just enough time to use the Mr. Crush through the red buff wall. Such an unfortunate set of circumstances for Sacred to be above dropping the first blood. But regardless, not finding the kill, forcing Alka to back means that Get Fisher is going to get some more of an experience advantage, hitting level 7 versus the 6. And then you look at the difference of the Assassin's Blessing, 12 stack bonus for Fisher.
You could use all the euphemisms you want, Anatoly. That was a bad play. Flippo trying to turn things around as his jungler, but looks like he might get dropped. The miss whoop, and there it is. Alka says, if you can't kill me, I'll kill you. Turns it around, and Get Fisher looking for the revenge. He hits the ring bounce, but it's too far, and he can't finish it up again. Instead, he's gonna die. Angry Day makes him QQ. Exordium picks up kill number 2.
Oh, so unfortunate. If he just waited maybe half a second or a full second to allow the minion wave to get a little bit closer off of hitting the Raven, it would have allowed the ring bounces to just keep on going. The heal would have been stronger, your movement speed would have been a little bit faster, and maybe even catch up to this Raven, but dropping not only your mid laner, but the jungler on top, Exordium, walk away like bandits.
Oof, just a nice turnaround from Exordium right there. Really smooth stuff coming out from Alka. And I love the presence of mind, too, from the Agni player to just sort of make sure that things are finished. And Angry Day, I think it's been a while since we've seen this name, though, but it's kind of funny what patch we see Angry Day here on. Totally, are you familiar with Angry Day QQ? Or Angry Day as he's known here?
Not too much, not from the European side.
So he used to play in the 3v3 Joust one.
Okay.
And it's fitting that this is the patch that we see the 3v3 Joust return, the old map, and in turn, the old players. Angry Day coming through, making it happen. Watching Angry Day kill Get Fisher brings me back to 2013, man. This is, you ready for launch tournament, Dignitas Anatoly?
I'm ready for the launch tournament. I got my jersey still in the closet. I got my hat ready. Just got to dust off the cobwebs a little bit.
But no, I think it's a great testament to the SMITE scene, seeing the longevity of these players. And that's one of the fun things about the minor league, is seeing players come in and out of the scene, trying to return. And watch how that one goes down. Alka's beads chased out. And it's one of my favorite things that Agni can do. Just toss out a bomb, letting you know he's there, thwarting any other offensive moves. Get Fisher one of the good things that Naja brings to the table, the ability to just snatch those camps real quickly.
All you got to do is throw out the ring bounce and then one basic attack, throwing Alka in the sky, but where's the follow-up?
There's Agni going to make sure he gets the stun on to get Fisher, and Angry Day puts him in the ocean. Down he goes. Cozy with the rotation takes out Kairu, and Flippo wall. It's just completely devastating. The Doubleune for the Osiris player. 5-0 for Exordium.
A 4-on-3. Exordium anticipated the aggression from Sacred Speed Buff. They let that back camps go on purpose to get a better edge, but Get Fisher was the one that wanted to play a little bit aggressive, got ahead of himself. Flippo was just too far in the backline, getting zoned by both Cozy and the Ymir. Couldn't really follow up from the Windfire wheels.
And meanwhile, Cozy makes the rotation. Where's Steefy Beefy? He's all the way on the right side. Come on, man.
When you're behind, you honestly don't even have time to make that rotation. Your best bet is to allow your teammates to know, it's like, hey, listen, my Osiris opponent is rotating. I can't be here. I had to give up a lot of experience from the beginning of the game after that red buff scuffle. And as a result, Catfisher didn't really get that memo. He still continued to engage despite having all that intel.
That's a really good point there, Anatoly. We talked about how SB was behind because of the red buff start, right? And it didn't really work. If you're going to go for that red buff start and put yourself behind, I need to see somebody succeed because of it. And nobody was pushed up, right? If Sacred Speed Buff has pressure on the left side of the map, then they can repeatedly strip that red buff away, and all of a sudden, four invades later, your middle lane and arguably your Hunter have an advantage. With that not being the case, it just wound up being a detriment to the scenario, and now you're down 1,400 gold, 1,500 gold. Not a great look for Sacred Speed Buff.
Definitely not, and I think the main part is the fact that this Kakulin player had to deal with an aggressive start from Cozy X, going for the tier 2 boots rush.
Now this is a much better engage from Getfisher. The entire squad is here, but Flippo can't follow it because Popular behind him is doing the business. SB puts his team on the board. Sacred Speed Buff do take down the support Ymir. But that should have been an Agni kill, but a great rotation. You know, I've slammed Sacred Speed Buff for their misplays so far. That really wasn't a misplay as much as it was Exordium answering the call to action and making sure that their team would not be left out to dry.
Whether or not you find the kill onto Angry Day, you're forcing him to fall back from the team fight. And whenever you can do that against an Agni player, the rest of the team fight should be relatively smooth. I like what Alka did there, abusing Getfisher's respawn timer by snatching away the speed.
Not so sacred anymore, huh?
It's going to be Exordium's Sacred Speed Buff this time.
I've definitely been waiting 12 minutes and 7 seconds to say that. Alka now in some trouble. Getfisher's reaching this mid-game point of the game where Naja gets really scary. He's got the shifter shield and the speed boots, which is actually a very interesting build here. The speed boots are going to lower the damage, but the shifter shield gives him, what, 60 plus power on one item? That's what we saw him start off with. So it's a really nice, it's 70 power. So it's a really nice item because Naja does want that power to really execute his damage.
And with some of the patch changes, this item going, I believe, from 2,500 gold down to 2,400 makes it more enticing. I thought it was going to be the Gladiator shield to start off the game, considering that when you're going to be this aggressive in the enemy backline, you hit a good ring bounce and you're healing for a whole ton of health and the cooldown reduction to spam more.
That's what I was going to say. Glad Shield has cooldown reduction. The very classic Naja build is Mace into Jotun's Wrath first, because you want to have those abilities on such a low cooldown to be able to rotate, ring toss, sash, and just be in and out. But the mentality here is kill somebody in a rotation. Ring toss to lower the protections, sash, ult, and hopefully they're dead. That's the mentality that Getfisher's going with instead of the spam your abilities more often, which is probably better for his team's composition.
And that's the beautiful thing about Naja. There is no correct or incorrect build. You just go for a different play style depending on what your team composition is, what team composition you're playing against, and what you think is going to be the most success rate.
I mean, hell, we've seen pure tank Naja with the mentality of ring toss to slow, strip protections, stun, ultimate to flicker players in and out. One objective goes down to the right side. It belongs to Exordium. The larger objective started up by SSB. Here comes Exordium trying to put them down. Popular is in trouble, and he's taking a whole lot of damage. Does get the stun off, but Flippo takes him out. Across the way, Kha'Zix with another 2 kills, but Flippo's going to finish off his double kill. 2 players dead on either side. Flippo could be next, but a beautiful taunt coming out from Kairu will save the life of the mid lane Freya, but Ken 6 punishes Kairu for just that, and Kha'Zix trip skis, baby. 3-4 players down for Sacred Speed Buff and Exordium. They've got their Hunter, they've got their Osiris, and they've got their mid lane Mage. That's going to be a Gold Fury.
Kha'Zix doing a wonderful job in that last team fight, being able to jump up and down with Lord of the Afterlife, avoiding the big AoE knock-up ultimate from the big SB, allows the chase down for Flippo. If it wasn't for the taunt from Kairu, that would have been a clean deicide. 15 minutes of the game, Exordium with the Gold Fury, extending their lead to beyond 4,000 gold.
That was so dirty. That was Exordium go to the right side of the map and go, hey, because one of the interesting things is the sound cue that happens when objectives go down.
Yep.
And that was Exordium using it to their advantage. They go, hey, nobody's looking at this early in the game. We're going to take the Pyromancer. And then once Sacred Speed Buff hears it, they're like, well, clearly they're on the right side of the map. We're going to start the Gold Fury. I think that Exordium had that planned. They said they were about 3,000, 2,500 gold in the lead before the Gold Fury went down. And they said, all right, dude, go for it, homie. Let's see what happens. And then they show up ready to fight.
Yep.
They knew it was going to go down.
The problem was that Springer and Flippo didn't have their power spike plays that they needed to. Just now finishing off Executioner is going to be the Medusa. I don't think Flippo had the Spirit of Desolation during that last engagement, and they just didn't have that burst damage.
Yeah.
So they had to reset. It was a good taunt into the Petrify that blew up Popular, but when you're blowing all your cooldowns on a level 12 Ymir, well, now all of a sudden, here comes this level 14 Kha'Zix on the Osiris. Alka was able to dive the backline. Everyone else from Exordium was reigning supreme.
And here's the thing, Toli, is Popular already did the thing. He walled somebody off, and he froze somebody. He can ult, and that'll create a big slow, but what's he going to do after that? A Ymir just basic attacking, waiting for his cooldowns to come up? If you die after your abilities have been expended, especially as a support, dog, you've done the job.
And the thing is, he still had his shell and sprint, or it was just coming off of cooldown from the last engage, freezing Flippo. There are no relics for him, forced to go into the sky. But this time, Big SB with a huge knockup.
And Mr. Springer going to take down Alka. Nice response from the dual lane. Everybody walking up mid. Ken 6 in trouble, takes to the sky, and he's going to be safe and sound. Medusa uses the ultimate too early, takes down the support instead of the Hunter. But here comes Kha'Zix.
Kha'Zix with a 3-man Lord of the Afterlife, but everyone else is too low from his side. Angry Day wants to drop the bombs,
Yeah.
but he just can't get closer. This time, this is the difference of the two solo laners. The Big SB made his presence felt. Kha'Zix needed to wait a little bit longer for that teleport, and as a result, that huge Naga. Big SB setting up his teammates cleanly.
Yeah, really nice team fight there from Sacred Speed Buff. One of the few wins they've had during this game, in all honesty. Now, unfortunately for them and their fans, unable to find the stuff after the stuff, if you will. No Gold Fury available, no Pyromancer available. The TL1 Tower is all they're going to be able to get, so 500 gold in the pocket.
It's a slow and steady pacing that mitigates the bleeding that Exordium was starting to put out onto Sacred Speed Buff. So with more plays like that from Big SB, despite having a 3-level deficit, should net his team a few more kills, a couple more assists to get back in the thick of things. And it's surprising to see this kind of a build from both of these soul laners. Mystical Mail Rush into Hide of the Urchin in a meta where magical damage is such a big component. Looking at the Agni and the Freya, I think their damage numbers are going to start skyrocketing.
Well, the Freya certainly is. Right now finds herself number 2. Alka trying to run around. Nice freeze from Flippo. There's the Valkyrie's discretion. And Alka's going to have to use an ultimate of his own to get on out of there. Popular, probably going to fall down here unless he can wiggle away. Get Fisher says no. The ultimate just tickles, but on the bottom, there's the hit. And Get Fisher finishes what he started. 6 kills for Sacred Speed Buff as they're coming back into this game.
Flippo very low, forced to Aegis and rely on the defender of Olympus. Ring bounces coming through, stun onto Kazik, but with that Lord of the Afterlife passive, he's extremely tanky. It's actually going to be a 2-on-3 in the mid lane for Sacred Speed Buff. Angry Day making this rotation back in the mid lane, and I think that Sacred Speed Buff going to have to be on that retreat.
Yeah, they're going to have to run on out of here. Kha'Zix with the Mystical Mail will be ticking towards the enemy. But hey, the objectives are up now, and that's where Exordiums are going to look at.
Timing is so unfortunate for this Order side because they were the ones that won the team fight.
Yep.
They killed Popular, but they just overstayed a little bit too long to the point that they couldn't find an additional kill and back to heal up. Angry Day was able to go heal up. Alka is relatively healthy, and the Pyromancer goes down. Gold Fury due to respawn in 10 seconds. This is where both teams need to start positioning themselves on the left side of the map.
Yeah, or the right side. I mean, it is 20 minutes in. These players have about 3 to 4 items totally. Fire Giant is certainly an option for a lot of these squads as well.
If there was a Shogun's Kusari for Sacred Speed Buff, I would say maybe they can kind of sneak a Fire Giant, but if I'm Exordium, as long as I have a regular ward somewhere in the vicinity to identify if that sneak is happening, I'm not too worried. I think that the same way they made the rotation from the right side of the map to defending Gold Fury 5 minutes ago, they could do that same process all over from the left to the right.
Get Fisher hitting up Ken 6. Get Fisher is the tanky build, though, so he's not going to be able to put out too much damage there.
Spirit's Orb is a good pickup for Naja against a Ymir Agni combination.
Very
it's so
much so.
easy to accidentally walk in and get stunned by either of those two gods. So getting that damage mitigation every 15 seconds, so important to stay alive.
Kairu, I thought he was going to be fine. So did he until Alka showed up. Nice slow there. Allows Angry Day to get the setup. Popular trying to decide if he wants to go in or out, in or out, in or out. The decision is in because he needs to save his Hunter. Rolls away his Ken 6 and will find some shots. Goes to the sky. 1 shot, 2 shot, blue shot. Ken 6 looks good as he cuts down Get Fisher. Death number 5 for the Jungle Naja. He'll be sitting out for 35 seconds. And Exordium now with the upper hand. 5-on-3. Look for the objective.
Oh, but look at Flippo. He's looking for blood and revenge. He's going to get walled off. Popular doing a good job using that wall to avoid the shots. Flippo eating 2 Agni Bombs and the Spirit Flail. Kha'Zix with the kill.
Out of control. This Osiris, man, he's looking so good, totally. Osiris is a character that can be extremely low impact if you don't know how to like really function.
Yeah.
All of his abilities are small damage but low cooldown, and if you're not a good Osiris, you're a bad Osiris. And that sounds very, very simple, but you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
right?
you either carry the game or you absolutely do nothing in team fights in the mid to late game. I totally feel you on
and
that.
right now, man, he's crushing.
It was the whole Boots 2 rush into Boots 3 with the addition of Big SB's teleport not allowing him, you know, that freedom. So he kind of had a little bit of a safety push to start things off, but he transitioned very well in these team fights. And speaking of team fights, that last one should have went Sacred Speed Buff's way. They actually caught Ken 6 in a beautiful Petrify. No beads available for the ROM player, but out of nowhere, Popular able to pop the shell at the last given moment, able to freeze to buy his ROM enough time to roll away, get in the sky, and then turn it back around to get Fisher.
Yeah, I actually asked for this World's Place. I really wanted to see where Kha'Zix was at because, I mean, there's no way he was doing everything because I watched him drop some vision down on Fire Giant, but he's top damage. He's definitely top mitigated. You know when you hit the T button in your game and it's just one face?
Yeah.
And you go, oh, that guy's doing it.
Yep.
That's what I'm seeing right now. It's just Osiris face all over the place.
Those were 3 Agni Bomb stunts right on to get Fisher. And that's also with the proc of the Spirit Throw. That damage is only going to get higher. This Agni is only level 18, about 4.5 items deep. Windblade now just completed for Get Fisher, giving him additional health and movement speed. Should allow him to wiggle through these team fights.
Plus, look at the penetration that Angry Day is building as well. He knows that players are going to be building against him rather soon. So he's got to keep an eye on that one. Exordium, Fire Giant down to 10%. Here comes Kairu. Can he steal? The answer is no. Red team with the fire and now looking for the push.
They're on the chase. Can they find anybody, though? Not in position to wall anyone off. I think that Popular allowed Athena to go through on purpose to try to burst her down, but Not going to be able to find the kill, but still, Fire Giant at 23 minutes into the game, uncontested.
Yeah.
A little surprising, actually. I think Sacred Speed Buff got caught slipping.
Maybe a little bit, but it's what is this, an 8,000 to 9,000 gold lead? Really, Sacred Speed Buff would have a problem fighting into this anyway, especially when you look at the build from Get Fisher, not really damage related, SB, not really damage related. They're more tanky than they are offensive, so it will be rough for them to look for these fights. SP has to go north, and now Kairu is stuck. Flippo goes to the sky, but as soon as he lands, Totally, I think he might be in trouble. And Ken6 makes sure the answer is yes.
That wall is so good, shutting down Kairu's dash in the middle of it. 2 quick kills with Fire Giant. Throw out the Salt Shaker, throw out the GGs, because this is looking clean for Exordium.
Popular and Kha'Zix, and this has been a team win. But I'm looking specifically at the support player, the mid lane, and the solo laner that have really been doing a lot of the heavy lifting for Exordium.
Mid Phoenix goes down. How are they going to transition? 20 seconds for Flippo, 10 for Kairu. Onto the solo side, Phoenix. There are going to be some minions there, fortunately enough for them to look in. Kha'Zix is going to drop the tether, forcing Get Fisher back into the throne room. Very patient is Exordium, not entering the throne room, but could set up a little ambush play.
Yeah, we've seen this play once or twice before. It's one of my favorites. Kha'Zix is going to go ahead and turn around, look for SB. But
give him the little Loki, though. Get Fisher could get walled off if he's not careful. This is the perfect map positioning for Ymir players, being able to cut off one entrance or exit potentially, but still Get Fisher not deterred. Walks in rather confidently, does have his solo laner and the rest of his teammates beside him.
Kha'Zix is surrounded. This could be trouble for the Osiris. He goes up and down. The audacity. I don't know about that one, man. You've had a great game. That was
a little strange, honestly. A very, very, very strange. His teammates weren't that close to follow up.
No.
Now, if they were right behind that little bend, then sure. Do it.
Sure.
Because look at Get Fisher herself, look at Kairu herself. They were relatively low. A lot had to have been used there. Big SB's ultimate was expended. But now they're feeling frisky by looking for the tier 2 tower push. But keep in mind, there's going to be some fire minions for Exordium.
There's a jump forward from the Robin player, trying to find the damage on the back line. Ken6 takes out Kairu. Get Fisher's in the sky, but he's got a sliver of HP. He does get Alka. But Angry Day answers back. It's a 2 for 2. What are you doing there?
It was the wall completely shutting down any escape for Neo Springer. And that 4-on-5 that should have been in Sacred Speed Buff's advantage was heavily lost. They only killed Alka. Kha'Zix died previously, and they lost 3 members for that 1 kill.
Oh, man.
This could be game.
This absolutely could be. SB is here defending, but there's a ton of fire minions just creeping in here. Right side Phoenix down. Mid lane Phoenix also down. And the Titan, half HP totally. SB trying to play defense, but that's it. That's the game. Exordium takes it down, and Sacred Speed Buff just look it up.
27 minutes of play. I think it all has to come down to that solo lane matchup. The big SB did an interesting strategy to invade the red buff, but it didn't work out against a tier 2 boots rush from Kha'Zix to Osiris.
Yeah, it was a perfect storm for the Osiris player really over there. Just his aggressive start. He was given a start that he gets to be aggressive against as well. His teammates did fine. Angry Day played very, very strongly in the mid lane and denied the subsequent red buff invades as well. So because of that, I think the game was sort of given to the Osiris on a silver platter, and he said, I will take it.
And a little bit of addition where Get Fisher was trying to invade those back camps. Kha'Zix made that rotation, making it a 4-on-3 fight.
Well, who's going to be the MVP? That's what we want to ask you guys out there. Whether it's Kha'Zix, Angry Day. I mean, even the Hunter, who I didn't personally mention, the Rom player was looking good as well. Everybody kind of had their moment in the sun.
I'm going to give it to Popular. Anytime I can see a Ymir player just pop off, he saved that Hunter just in the nick of time, being able to, after he got petrified in that middle of the team fight, the shell came out beautifully, able to freeze out Fisher to buy the ROM just an additional second.
You know, I'll agree with your assessment. I do like to see a strong Ymir player, and when the walls come out, you can really give credit to the geometry usage, right? For me, I mean, part of me, I'm a little biased. I want to shout out my man Angry Day, but I really liked Kha'Zix here. I think the solo lane Osiris looked nasty, did the carrying, and that's who's going to be your MVP today. Look at that, 9.0
But look at that wall, though.
KDA.
Look at that wall, though.
Yeah.
Guaranteed Flippo was out there without that wall.
Well, you know, it is a team game. Kha'Zix wound up with the early game, looked for the late game, and it just looked really smooth for Osiris. And, you know, like you said, the walls were beautifully set up. You're going to see one here soon, but just the control that the Osiris brought,
Yeah.
and the stick-to-itiveness was fun.
That up and down was so beautiful. But that was only set number 3 of the day.
Yeah, and Signum versus Victoria's Secret's going to be up next. We're excited to jump into this one. We saw Victoria's Secret play a little bit earlier. Didn't exactly look super clean, but hopefully they can clean things up for Insignum, who has been one of the teams to beat here in the minor league European.
But Insignum also struggled against Optimus Gang, so we'll see how they kind of transition into the 4th set of the minor league Europe for week number 1.
Watching these two teams is always exciting. In Signum, you know that you're going to get some of the top-tier players doing the top-tier plays. I want to see what the guys have been working on in the interim. You know, we saw them come through to LAN for the summertime, and then we saw them win at LAN in the summertime. So I want to see how these guys are looking in the fall.
And a lot of it came down to, I think, genetics playing lights out in that Guardian role.
On
Ymir. That's a beautiful pick, honestly, and I love to see. Anytime I can see Ymir, I'm happy.
Me too. I think it was Raffer who was one of the first modern Ymir players to really impress me, I think, where he came out and was just maxing the wall early in
Yeah.
Was that Worlds 1 or Worlds 2 or Worlds 3?
You sure it wasn't Connie Alive playing that Ymir that was maxing out the wall?
Well, no, it was Raffer.
It was Raffer?
Yeah, Raffer had some gnarly Ymir when
yeah.
he was playing on Energy. But either way, the Ymir play is always exciting to watch, and I'm interested to see what's going to happen a little bit later. Victoria's Secret and Insignum on the way. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more SMITE Minor League. Insignum, Victorious Secret. That's what we're getting into. Everything all dialed away. Tom and Tolly bringing you the action here one more time. And Picks and Bans going to be very, very soon. What are you expecting out of these two teams, man?
Honestly, I can't expect anything because so far the way the European minor league played out was the unexpected. Exordium beating out Sacred Speed Buff. We saw Optimus Gang taking out Insignum. So who knows what's to come of this last set of the day.
That's certainly true. I mean, it's I toss a coin, but I mean, who carries cash anymore, right? Everybody's got a card or a phone.
Yeah.
But Victoria's Secret right away going to call up Baron and say he's not invited. The Control Mage has looked really strong in the short side. Although he really hasn't found the wins, he can be frustrating to fight against. And I think that's why we're seeing him banned away. Insignum looking for the power pick, saying no to Freya.
And normally Victoria's Secret or the first pick position would do a throwaway ban, leaving both Naja and Chernobog up. That's a throwaway ban of the Circuit. Recognizing Insignum's Lasbra is very good on that goddess, but he's also very good on a lot of junglers, specifically the Ratatasker.
Well, Naja's going to be banned out by Insignum themselves. You've got an Athena available. You've got some other nice selections for Victoria's Secret available. And it will be the Ratatasker.
Okay.
And I think that's taking it away from Lasbra.
That's true. We were just mentioning how his jungler of choice is either going to be the Circuit or the Ratatasker. But now you're giving up Chernobog and the Athena.
Yeah.
Two global pressure gods that could come back to hurt you.
We'll see. We'll certainly see both of them being selected. Totally the mind reader right here.
Man, I'm so good at this game. It's like they pay me to know.
The end of the day, I mean, that global presence is really strong, but the Kumbhakarna, one of my favorite supports. He's frustrating to play against. One of the few characters that has an anti-attack speed component to his kit, and also one of the most crowd control oriented characters in the entire game. The Mesmerize, the Root, the Knockup even. I mean, there's a lot that Kumbhakarna can do to stop you from what you want to be doing.
And this is a good selection also against the Athena. Whenever the Athena dashes, going to be looking for the taunt. The best way to deal with that is to blow her up. Either you yawn her or you just straight up epic uppercut her and then you wait with whatever you're about to throw at her without the mid selection from Victoria's Secret, Agni from Insignum. If you add an Agni to Victoria's Secret, you're just asking for trouble.
Agni is
pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Agni's the god right now. I'm very interested, actually. Myself and a lot of the analysts behind the scenes have been talking about where is the Agni top prioritization. This character feels like he doesn't have a bad spot during the game. It used to be a Magikarp Gyarados, where he was trash before level 5, then he gets his bombs, and he's dope. Now he's fine. There doesn't seem to be a bad part of the game for him. He has crowd control that he doesn't give damage up for. He's got dots to really make Spear of the Magnets very attractive in a world where penetration is hard to come by for mages. I could keep going. I mean, what the hell?
The problem is he's not the new hotness, right? There's so many mid mages that are coming out, you know, Discordia, Thoth, and then Agni kind of gets forgotten about, but he's one of the safest guys you can play.
Forget.
And like you said, it's just so easy to just throw those bombs from a safe distance and look for those plays. When you add an Athena and an Agni, the control is already through the roof out of Insignum.
Hercules for Victoria's Secret. One of the strong points of their solo lane is that Hercules play. Love this character. Should work out well. And an Isis. Ooh, interesting selection there. Not very often that we get to see this mid lane mage. I do like her a lot. She's going to bring a lot of objective control. Sorry, I lost my words. I haven't seen her in a while.
I think the target selection is going to be Sylvanas. This Isis selection, you're targeting out the Guardian, very immobile. You throw out the stun from Isis, and then or Kumbhakarna can set her up for a long distance. There's not much life left in Sylvanas after that.
Ain't that the truth? Victoria's Secret versus Insignum. Who's going to take home the bacon is what we ask you guys out there in chat. For my money, I'm not answering that question. I'm going to watch the game. And I've got an Isis on one side. I've got an Agni on the other with all of the power picks as well for Insignum. I think by default, you say Insignum. They've got the better draft as far as pure power is concerned. But if you really are going to look at the better draft, I don't know here.
I think late game damage Insignum has that trump card because of the Agni, and then you have movement speed on Amaterasu. But I think if Victoria's Secret can execute the strategy of locking down Sylvanas early game, they can take that early lead and start controlling those objectives you were talking about. It's so easy to build that ISIS circle of protection under Genetics' Wrath of Terror.
Yeah, I'm really liking Insignum's choice here as well. Lasper going in a very different direction than we usually see him in. And if you know me at all, you know I love to see players sort of show both sides of their prowess, right? We're used to seeing Lasper on these heavy, aggressive junglers. Now playing the Athena, I'm excited.
It's just a good different mix heading now into the fall split, changing things up, even going for a mask rush.
Yeah, that was also something I was going to bring up, where the masks essentially are, you're not going to see this built all the time on every character. In fact, this is kind of the scenario you're looking for, where you're looking to play out-of-position gods. Athena, traditionally a support character, sometimes played in the solo lane, but realistically, the jungle, an old classic position, but definitely what I would say off-label.
Should be able to transition relatively well once she picks up that tier 2 version of it. Can probably stay on it for quite a while. Death Banner having a little bit of exchange of words there with Mr. Stefan, but the ISIS coming out on top.
Yeah, Mr. Stefan is a very, very strong mid laner. And I think that his ISIS is certainly something that teams have to watch out for. He could just run away with this one.
I love this play already, but unfortunately out of Sixer, Zero didn't have the minion aggro, was very patient where he used his abilities, where he landed those basic attacks. 1 or 2 tower shots this early on before you get any physical protection will be felt whenever you have to use a premature health chalice stack. That can come back to hurt you.
Left side, Joshi and Genetics being pushed on their tower by Streak Up and Boz. So the Jingwei has been one of the more popular picks as of late. I know Taco's been talking about it a lot. What exactly is it about the Jingwei that really is making it so interesting?
It's you can't hide behind your own archers during the explosive bolts. That's what it really comes down to. Just a sheer AoE. Whenever you, let's say you're a Rom and you're going up to the wave to clear it with your astral arrows, well, Jingwei is clearing the wave and poking you out from a safe angle from the side. That's just one little factor. Then you always got the ability to go over walls, being able to avoid a lot of important cooldowns with the agility against a Sobek, against a Sylvanas. You can easily get away from their engagements with that agility.
Yeah, I like the agility. Like you said, specifically against the Sylvanas should be a nice show there that we'll see a little bit later. But so Mr. Stefan and Marcus over here, as they're at a tasker, he's probably waiting for his level 5 to be able to gank and find some of these big plays. Lasbra, same. Going to be finishing that tier 2 of the mask, already heading back to base.
It's so important to get this item whenever you're going to be rushing. It's so cheap. For 1,200 gold, you're going to get all of those stats specifically. Like I mentioned, I don't think he's going to finish off anything, but look at his stats. 10 physical power, 30 magical power for only 1,200 gold.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of, we actually saw Yaman in the Pro League build this up and only left it at level 2. As an Athena jungle, I think it might be more enticing to finish it than any other character because you are playing sort of out of position, right?
Possibly. It's just another substitute for boots, considering you're also getting that 10% movement speed. And hey, just for good measure, why not have 10% cooldown reduction where you're trying to constantly set up your Agni with those dash taunts?
I love the threat as well.
Oh yeah.
You just hear that, you hear the rev up and you have to respect the distance. You can't play too far up. Athena going for the jungle invade actually on the right side, and we'll get 2 out of the 3. Shield wall at this level with those stats will just basically one-shot the small minions.
Very easy to do so, and once you do max out that shield wall, you can definitely basically one-shot the big Harpy, especially once you evolve that Assassin's Blessing just for the extra 10 penetration. Not going to be looking for any blue buff invade quite yet. Sixer missing the mark on that one, but if he was feeling frisky, could look for that speed buff invade.
Yeah, I don't know how frisky he's feeling there. I mean, speed buff is so safe these days, right? So tucked away in the enemy jungle that it can be a little bit tough to really find that invade. But the Oracle's being pinged off right now, and Victoria's Secret, they want to... Realistically, Insignum needs to prioritize these Oracles because of the ISIS. You're able to rush down the objective so quickly, and there's no chance to steal it if the ISIS plays correctly, and Mr. Stefan will play it correctly, mark my words. So Insignum should be looking for these oracles, which is why, in turn, we see VS doing just that, to take them away from Insignum.
But Victoria's Secret needs to always keep in the back of their mind this Athena global pressure from any side of the map, and also from Joshi. So if there was a little scuffle on the left side, if there's ever a 1v1 between Sixer and Zero, well, both Joshi and Lasba, this Athena Chernobog combo is on the right side at the drop of a dime.
Oh, there's the agility we were talking about. Death Panther able to jump on out, but is it enough? No! The dash from the Agni, not good enough. Here comes Rat, knock up strong. Joshi is going to get away!
The pull and the body blocks. Marcus has nowhere to go afterwards. It was a great re-engage with a triple knockup, but no one else could follow up onto Joshi. Genetics punishing Marcus for his transgressions.
I loved that play. Not only was the pull on the money, but the teamwork to find the squad body block was really clean.
And then Marcus, knowing he was dead to rights, is like just jumps up and down as a little Ratatasker. That's just so adorable.
Yeah, nowhere for him to go, and he knew it. So he gets first blood, but he does trade himself out there to the enemy team.
Not a bad trade-off, killing the enemy mid laner to get that extra first blood bouncy, trying to rush this shifter shield, something that we're probably going to see more of during the fall split. That extra 100 gold buff from 2,500 down to 24, more enticing for those assassins that are trying to get in the thick of things.
And then, like you said, I mean, not only the cost reduction, but it's just a powerful item.
Yes.
It really is. 70 power, one of the highest, if not the highest, depends on how you're looking at Transcendence, but one of the highest physical power items available. Sixer in some trouble here, surrounded by enemy jerseys, taunted back into the shield wall, and Lasbra gets kill number 2 on the jungle Athena.
Needed to find the right timing to driving strike away or to use that excavate for the CC immunity, which would have prevent the dazzling offensive stun, but at the end of the day, that shield wall is what really put in the hurt. Sixer has the physical defense by rushing the Gladiator shield, but without any health or magical defense, this physical warrior slash magical guardian jungler puts in the pain against anyone in the soul lane.
7.5 in here. Mr. Stefan wrestling control of the mid lane, or at least trying to. Agni is very interesting. It's channeled, the channeled nature of Wing Gust can be interrupted with a nice bomb stun. We haven't really seen much of that just yet. Mr. Stefan's been able to lane successfully. I'm not too surprised there, to be honest with you. Mr. Stefan, a very strong mid laner himself. Death Panther, my unofficial SMITE minor league poster child. Very vocal player, but also not just vocal. I think he's one of the best players in the whole damn minor league.
So, Tom, it's August 29th, or sorry, it's August 30th.
Yes, it is.
You missed your appointment 3 days ago. I think our last discussion was about Death Panther.
That's true. We might have to return to the couch, actually, Tully, and give our thoughts on the fall split. Certainly should be interesting. Right now, Sixer trying to keep things interesting. Zero had a neat play before that you were excited about earlier in the day. Or was it a play on to Zero? Maybe not Zero's favorite moment. He got jumped in one of the earlier games, and it was a highlight play for sure. But he had his agents available, so he was able to wiggle on out of
Oh,
there.
that was Sibi.
Yeah.
Sibi taken out at 0, I believe it was. Yes.
Now he's got the sprint on the Amaterasu, so a little bit different of an arsenal here in this game. Looking to play more utility. And I really love a utilitarian Amaterasu. The ability to speed your teammates up, provide some power.
Oh my goodness. Taking 3 tower shots. Here comes Lasper, though. No driving strike available. No mana for excavate. Another kill onto the Hercules. And he's safe under his own tower. That's so unfortunate.
That Zero played that really well. I mean, when your jungler's coming to gank, one of the most amateur things you can do is push up or look too obvious. And I think Zero played that really strongly. Death Panther beads and dashes and gets on out of there.
Don't
here comes
do
Rat
it.
in the sky, but there's too many threats here, especially as Zero makes the rotation from the right side. And very intelligently, Marcus decides to shy away from the engagement.
That was a really good blink play from Boss that actually accidentally avoided the pull from Genetics through the wall, setting up Death Panther, but using the beads immediately upon landing, couldn't follow up on any additional CC. But outside of the good performance in mid lane, good performance in the solo side as well from Sixer. If he just had maybe 20 more mana, he would have been able to drop that Excavate to get CC immunity, but just didn't have it enough.
Level 9 now compared to Zero's level 11. Not quite the disparity that we saw Kha'Zix with before, but still certainly something to be concerned about, especially as a Hercules there, Toli, who Hercules is a character that I don't want to say has to be ahead, but certainly likes to be. Lasbro with a good taunt. But a better ultimate from Mr. Stefan makes this whole area problematic. Lasbro re-enters the conversation and puts down Marcus. Now Mr. Stefan in some trouble. Right side Joshi, left side Lasbro. The Hunter is the one that does it. Mr. Stefan sits down, and it's kill number 5 for Insignum.
2 quick picks, Insignum positioning themselves around the Gold Fury, but it's just a bait. They want more, they want boss.
And, well, they're going to get him. Couple more basics. There it is. Zero picks up kill number 6. Meanwhile, off camera, Hunter v. Hunter. And Streak Up gets the solo kill onto Joshi.
Joshi was just too ambitious trying to strip away that purple buff while the rest of his teammates were preoccupied about killing out boss. That's something you got to always have in the back of your mind. If you're in a 1v1 situation, whether you're solo side lane or Hunter, if your teammate's off doing the better correct play in terms of setting yourself up for a Gold Fury, well, you just got to respect that call. Be more patient. Your Hunter needs to be the one starting up the Gold Fury or, you know, behind the charge.
Here's the problem with those 2 Hunters is that Chernobog only has 16 stacks of the Devo gloves, right? Whereas Streak Up with 60, he's going to be able to find these 1v1s a little bit better. He's going to be able to box a little bit better. And also, he's going to be a higher threat against that Gold Fury himself, because once you're stacked up at 75, you can just solo the gold.
It's going to take a long time to play catch up, a difference of about 50 stacks. It's going to take quite a long time. Another solo kill.
Wow.
Streak Up punishing Joshi.
Yeah, Streak Up. I mean, I guess that's where he gets his name from. Just streaky play, getting the kills, and with a single enemy Hunter death, that's going to open the Gold Fury. Mr. Stefan has his ultimate. There's really no contestation here. You're going to drop the Isis ultimate, and actually that's not the case. They're going to look for the fight. Down goes Death Panther. Streak Up again. 3 kills in a row. Here comes Zero, though. And meanwhile, Sixer nowhere near here. Mr. Stefan falls down.
Just in no man's land, a little bit too far forward. Now Streak Up forced to use that ultimate defensively, because now comes Joshi with the living nightmare. It was a very unfortunate engage because Marcus used his ultimate for satellite vision around the Gold Fury, but then Boss used that epic uppercut, knocking Death Panther in the sky as Marcus was landing back down.
There's a peel from the Gold Fury a little bit as Sixer shows his face. 25%, and I think that's going to be the retreat from Victoria's Secret right there. It will be. Insignum picks up the Gold Fury. That's going to put themselves up about 2,000 to 3,000 gold. Nice little gold lead they've started for themselves here.
Outside of that one little botched engage onto Death Panther, the secondary factor that allowed Insignum that momentum swing was Zero, making his presence a little bit quicker than Sixer. And that's not really Sixer's fault on the Hercules. He doesn't have teleport, neither does Zero, but the Amaterasu or stance switching. Once you max it out now at level 14, you're getting that 25% additional movement speed. Difficult to really combat when you're only sitting with Warrior Tab Eye for the 18%.
Yeah, I mean, certainly a little bit of slow poke. A little bit of a slow poke.
That's just Hercules' thing, man. He's slow but powerful.
Yeah. Is he? Just kind of waddles around.
Yeah. Just waddle. While he waddles and picks up a boulder to throw at your face. That's like so scary. Watching someone literally pick up the ground.
Yeah. I mean, excavate is literally, we don't affect the ground here, but if this was real life, there would be a giant crater.
Yes.
Like, he's not picking up a rock that he sees. He's making a rock out of the ground, man.
You know how hard you have to punch the ground to be able to pick up that much? Man, we need to make that like an...
He needs to cut his fingernails, I'm thinking.
No, he's
because you figure it's the fingernails that are creating the, like, he's digging, right, with fingernails, and then he lifts up this giant rock. He's got, like, diamond fingernails.
Yeah, he's like doing one-finger push-ups, like a handstand one-finger push-up. That's how strong his fingers are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the nails are sharp too.
Yeah.
He should have razor claws, the best net ability. That's what he should have.
Give him the scratchies.
Yeah. Being able to scratch up. That's how I feel too. That noise the war just made is how I feel as well. 15 minutes in, Insignum doubling Victoria's Secret's kill count right now. Streak Up has had a fantastic game, but unfortunately, it's kind of just Streak Up. Mr. Stefan has been set up a couple of times and kind of fallen on his face, and Insignum is running away with this match.
And Lasbra's been putting in the hurt, sitting at 4-0-4, a part of 100% of his team's kills. As an Athena that hasn't really been using that ultimate for the engagements. She's just been at the right place at the right time, and most of that has been on the right side of the map, but this time it's going to be on the left.
Yeah, Streak Up going to use the ultimate to get on out of there. Taunt's going to be good from Lasbra, who shows up, provides the damage. Shield wall won't happen, but the basics will, and Lasbra's playing the jungle Athena near and dear to my heart.
Such a clean performance. Blinking immediately after landing from Defender of Olympus. Uses every ability in between throwing out that reach passive for additional damage. And that's even without a Void Stone. Lasbra's damage is only going to get better.
People underestimate, like even the pro level Athenas you see out there will build all tank, you know? And the damage Athena can do is respectable. Build the Void Stone, build the power boots. Here we see the CDR boots. I love when players trust the Athena damage, and that's what Lasbra's doing.
Good double Maz, but it's only a single knockup onto Genetics. The bombs raining from Death Panther from the side. Ice is trying to find the stun, but Death Panther not allowing the chase to continue, and a root just for good measure.
That's a full retreat coming out from Insignum. Not too far ahead, only about 4,000, a little bit shy of it. 3901 to be precise.
But their health pool is not available. Look how low Marcus is. Circular protection being used. Zero forcing out the beast from Mr. Stefan.
Nice
there
deal.
goes Defender of Olympus, but great control from Victoria's Secret.
Boz making the rotation really clean. Love what's going on there from Boz. He's able to go ahead and make the wraparound rotation to separate his team from the rest of Insignum. Still a 5-on-4 at the moment as the mid lane Mr. Stefan has gone down, but Zero's death won't make it a 4-on-4. And Lasbra has made the call. All-out retreat. He'll go left. The rest of the team will go right. And Joshi, he's been here. He's taking care of the Tier 1 tower.
Trying to get it, but Marcus doing a good job making it more difficult. That Tier 1 tower on its last legs. Might have about 100 health or so, but now forced to retreat. Boss trying to find the root from a distance. Will try to get onto Genetics. Genetics just have to sacrifice his life by going south.
That seems like a little bit of a mistake to me. I guess it would have been if Insignum bit back, but chasing Genetics that far could have been very scary. I don't think Victoria's Secret had the information that nobody was there.
Well, you're in a 5-on-4 knowing that Zero is dead. Blink taunt from Lasbra. Joshi landed from Living Nightmare. Pick onto Marcus. Sixer goes down. A hot double for Lasbra. And Victoria's Secret are on the retreat.
Oh, Death Panther with the 2-1 combo. Oh, man. What a great play. And that is what I was saying. You can't go that far deep because the response from Insignum is going to be that much more punishable. Death Panther. I mean, I got to the 2-1 combo is one of the harder Agni things
Oh, yeah.
to pull off. I like it, man.
And whenever you got a blink taunt set up from a distance, Death Panther has been topping the player damage charts as a result. I thought it was going to be a Gold Fury at first, but Insignum not going to slow down. They're deterred to get a W after losing to Optimus Gang earlier.
Sprint popped as Lasbra says, hey, I got Mr. Stefan. And Zero says, hey, check out my weapon. Mr. Stefan going to fall down here. It's just a matter of time. There it is. Zero picks up number 14. Easy.
And still, Lasbra with 100% kill participation. 7-0-7. This guy is just flying over the competition.
That was a good one. That was a really
I don't know if that's a plane, but that's kind of what I was going for.
It is. It's a plane.
There we go.
Oh, man. You're like a bird.
Yeah.
Calling you fly right there. You like that one?
I'm trying to remember the lyrics,
I'm like a bird trying to fly away.
but
I don't know where my home. Are you talking about Nelly Furtado?
Yes!
The Portuguese singer?
I thought that's where you were going with this.
Oh, no. I was going with the Superman, not a bird, not a plane. It's
Oh, okay.
Anatoly.
No.
I was calling you Superman. Now, I mean, the question is, if you go crazy, would I still call you Superman?
Stop.
That's the real question. That's the real question. The question for Victoria's Secret is how to climb right back in here. How do they discover Insignum's kryptonite? And I think the answer is
It might be 3 doors down the road.
it just might be. And you know, I'm gonna take your obvious joke and turn it into a real piece of analysis. I think they need at least 2 team fights to go in their favor before they do find themselves in a position to really topple Insignum. But for what it's worth, Toli, I think their composition kind of lends itself to a successful thought process in that way, because Isis, I think, is one of the more defensive characters. You can defend under that circle of protection underneath your Phoenixes very well. The lockdown potential of Kumbhakarna really strong, and Marcus can go in either direction, whether he wants to be aggressive and dive the backline or play peel for his backline.
Oh, no, waiting for Boss, fighting outside the Tier 2 tower with a nice blink engage. Insignum, though, not
Takes
going to
no
overcommit,
damage.
though. That's going to be a sustain from Genetics' Wisps and the Fire Giant sustain.
Insignum looking for the push forward. Genetics gets stunned out. Sixer gets gunned out. Joshi with the kill. It's a 5-on-4, just like that. Lasberg gonna look for the Goomba Stomp. Boz pulled back in. Genetics is on fire. And Zero gonna make Stefan his own namesake down for the count. Tier 1 tower gonna go down as well. The 5-on-3 is here.
Insignum are just too far ahead. Anything Victoria's Secret are throwing at them, Insignum are absorbing straight to the chest and not deterred.
Ooh.
Bass going down. Death Panther with another kill. This mid Phoenix falls down. Streak Up is the next target. He doesn't have the airstrike.
Lasberg's got it back to base, but he'll have his ultimate relatively soon. No longer 100% kill participation. The right side Phoenix is going to be the target here, Toli. This
Should
one's
be
going to go down
clean.
easy peasy.
Should be very clean. Lasberg even splitting the uprights by going for the left side Tier 2 tower, allowing the rest of his teammates to just easily transition over.
Well, he knows that Lasberg knows he's going to have the ultimate by the time his team really wants to re-engage. You can see him just a couple of seconds left there before he's able to just slam down from the top. Here comes Zero pushing in forward with the ultimate and the pull from Genetics. He does it with the walls and he does it with the vines. Genetics, great play on these support picks.
Still not going to go for the Titan quite yet. Want to get the last remaining Firebird at the 23-minute mark. And Insignum playing very cleanly. They probably have a lot of gold in hand if I were to guess, so they need to spend it. Look at
Or
that.
just win.
3,700 gold for Lasbra. At this point, I'm getting Rod of Tahuti
If you're who?
for Lasbra.
For Lasberg?
Yeah, at this point. With 3,700 gold in hand, I'm getting Rod of Tahuti straight up.
And knowing Lasberg, you ever watch a stream?
Sometimes.
He would buy Rod of
Ah,
Tahuti.
Shogun's Kusari, you're
Oh,
too boring.
Boo.
Boring.
More tank items, boo!
What are you doing? Playing your role correctly? How dare you?
How dare you give us the meme dream team? Come on.
Nah, no fault to his own, wanting to clean it up. When you lose to Optimus Gang earlier in their day, you're not going to even take that risk.
That's fair.
That might be in their mindset still.
That's fair. Like I said, I mean, I've watched him stream. We had the luxury of getting to hang out with him here at LAN, and Lazarus is one of the guys that there's sort of this meter, right, of competitive edge and chill guyitude, right?
Sure.
And very few people can really nail both. You look at Wolfie from Rival, really competitive guy, not going to smile too much. You look at Jeff Pindler, really kind of cool, calm, collected. Lasbra lands right in the middle. He's always down to joke and have fun, but he's got to win. He has to win. And I think that mentality is a big part of what allows Insignum to repeatedly be the top minor league representative from the European side of things, because they're just able to keep on going. Lasbra, Death Panther, Genetics, I'll shout out the whole team. All of these guys have a good moment.
Uh-oh. A little bit too far forward, actually. Caught in no man's land, trying to push these Firemans a little bit further. Lasbra, once he revives in 55 seconds, will still have that Defender of Olympus. Not the end of the world that he doesn't have the Fire Giant buff. I think he's still going to be in a fine position to close it out. And you were talking about just the balance that he has overall. The balance of the God Pool. Sarkett was banned away. The Naja was banned away. The Ratatosk was first picked to make sure that Lasbra wouldn't be piloting that God.
Basically a ban.
Basically. But still, brings out the utility style Athena and carries with a defensive utility style build.
Completely, and he's number 4 the player damage. He was number 2 wrestling for number 1 in the early game, where Athena really is a damage dealer, and people usually underestimate that. He certainly didn't. Watching him walk down the Hunter on the left side, Defender of Olympus, blink, reach. Shield wall just for the reach damage. Hits him with the dash, reach, basics him down. I mean, that's a guy that knows what he's doing. And what's cool there, Toli, is as the second pick, you don't dream of a Chernobog Athena selection, really. You get both. And part of me doesn't think that in Signum we're planning on playing the... I don't think the game plan was, so today we're going to play Jungle Athena. I think they were given the picks here and went, yo, Lasbra, can you do this? And he was like, bruh, I could do anything.
If it wasn't going to be Athena Chernobog, it would have been Chernobog Ratatasker potentially, or Ratatasker Athena potentially, and then have Genetics play the Athena if you really want to. So I don't think Insignum was too worried about the direction Victoria's Secret was heading to, but Insignum heading down the mid lane, Victoria's Secret not even able to defend this one.
Yeah, mid lane Phoenix goes down easily, right side just for the money. And like you said, I mean, this is Insignum responding to an earlier loss, right? This is a squad saying, look,
they're fired up.
Yeah, we're not going to lose twice. We're going to do this. We're going to do this correctly. We have a 20,000 gold lead, but we're still bringing them the business. Marcus actually going to start this team fight off right. Joshi answers back 4-on-4. 25% of the objectives so far. Spirit Ball hits nobody, but Stefan gets returned as Joshi gets the W.
These taunts are so good. Joshi with a nice little triple kill. Zero gets a kill just for good measure, and Insignum walking away with this win.
Nice and clean from Insignum. I love their dedication to the finality. Hit all the Phoenixes, make sure you do it right. And here, I mean, I know we're going to go through the motions and ask you guys who the MVP was. What up, Lasbra? How you doing, man?
7-1-14 is how they are feeling about that one. Almost a part of every single kill. 21 out of the 23 total Insignum acquired.
Great job from Death Panther as well. Everybody on Insignum looks really strong. And as I said, I mean, looking at their loss earlier today, they wanted to make sure that they brought this one home, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, after losing to Optimus Gang, they kind of got caught out. They weren't prepared, I guess, for that first. Whenever you go to a land in the spring, in the summer, you might have been a little bit too jaded, and I think they're going to take that loss to heart. And it's only the first week. I think they'll still be A-okay in weeks 2 and forward.
Yeah, certainly an interesting look here. 4 matches in the book, right? We just finished off our last 2. We got to look at what Sacred Speed Buff was able to do. Those guys, I think, have a little bit more learning. Exordium, still not the cleanest, but again, an improvement, I think, from what we've seen out of those guys. Insignum, this last one, Insignum versus Mr. Stefan and his squad. I think this was one of the more interesting matches we really got to see today. The summer split victors of the SMITE Minor League now bouncing back to the regular season. Is this what you expected?
Not necessarily because of the way they played against Optimus Gang, but I think in this last one, this is how we definitely expect them to. There was a very interesting strategy out of Victoria's Secret with the whole ISIS. It just didn't really work out for them because of an impressive performance out of Lasbra.
4 matches down. Let's break it down at the desk.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Toli, Finch, and Aggro here to close out the day for the SML. And what a day it was. That first match, we said it here on the desk, Insignum versus Optimus Gang potentially could be an upset there, and that's when we end up sawing. That wasn't the only one. Exordium had an excellent showing here today. I mean, this is just a great set of matches today.
Great way to start off the fall split for the European Minor League for sure. Gives us some intrigue moving forward that Insignum doesn't just steamroll both their opponents. Optimus Gang was very, very impressive today, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they develop. I do think Insignum is a little bit off on where the meta is right now.
Right.
That game 1 draft, I do think, hurt them by going for magical. So we will see them adjust. I'm really not that worried about Insignum, but I'm excited about Optimus Gang. I'm excited about Exordium. I mean, that's a team that of players that we didn't know a whole lot about coming in, and they looked great today.
And it's not too surprising, they did defeat the Sacred Speed Buff already in the qualifiers when they played that round robin.
Sure.
So they certainly had laid some groundwork. I think that was the kind of match that they could win, and that was 2 of our lower end teams. But you're 100% right? That's the qualifiers. This is the bright light stage, and they showed up there where they were supposed to in that same way. So I think it is impressive they were able to win that. But we'll kind of go back to the start of the day. If you can remember, way back to this morning, Insignum up against Optimus Gang, where I feel like that sort of early start really set Insignum behind early on where they lose 0.
Yeah, exactly. 0 getting a little bit behind in that matchup is going to make his life a lot more difficult. And it was just the idea of having so much magical power on your side that it just
they
kind
have 4. Yeah.
Exactly. It just means that you're in a spot where it's very easy to stack Genji's guards and things like that. Sibi had a very good game on this Baron. We were wondering if that prioritizing Baron and Chernobog over the Freya, if that was going to really work out for them. It certainly did in this game. So it seems like Optimus Gang just came in with a game plan, and their picks and bans I thought were excellent. And from there, they were able to not really coast, but certainly earn a victory.
Yeah, it was Sibi and Johnny that really stood out for me in this set in particular. Sibi on that Baron, which is really difficult for them to deal with. You saw the solo from before he was able to get that kill. That was so important to be able to find that in that lane up against 0. And we saw Johnny, like you said, he was able to build some more magical defense. We saw him, I think he had the Unkilia or the Runic Shield, and he had Genji's Guard in that build with Thanatos. That just made him so tanky, and he'd gotten ahead early. He had too much damage. I mean, Ryan, they had no way to slow down that Thanatos once it got rolling.
And that's where building a lot of one type of power can really work against you, right? And in that Thanatos selection, one that we haven't seen a whole lot of, we did see it during the summer finals, but that was as a counter pick to Zhang Kui in the solo lane exclusively. I think that it's a really strong pick right now overall. I think it's something that hasn't really been experimented with quite as much. There's a lot of slows in the meta right now, and Thanatos obviously does well against those. That's why he's so good against Thanatos in lane. I think Thanatos could be a pick for Johnny going forward and something that other teams have to be ready for.
He said to focus on Johnny. He certainly had a strong performance, but that wasn't the only set where we saw that early start kind of get the ball rolling for one of these teams, especially in this in these best of ones. In set 2, we saw the same thing come out in favor of the Poppies. They started off with that early invade, and Julio kind of just sat on that speed buff. It felt like 2-3 minutes he was there, and they come back later on for the steal as well.
And that's huge, especially at the minor league level. You can kind of get away with things like that. Where is that optimal? Maybe not, but you're putting your enemy team in a position where they have to make the right choice, and they have to make it quickly. And Victoria's Secret didn't do it quickly. They're kind of dawdling around the speed buff. What are we going to do in this situation? And the Poppies get off to a big lead because of it. Warchi moving to the mid lane looked pretty solid there. Checky in that ADC role did very, very well in his debut, so looking pretty bright for the Poppies if they can continue that level of play.
It really was impressive, and I think they can kind of look back at that game and think about Worst Turtle's performance as well on this Roquette. He played insanely aggressive the entire game, and it really worked for him. They realized that they'd got off to a bit of a lead, and he really never slowed down from there. This is that early play that I was talking about where Julio's in the jungle, and they are able to find that first blood on the Mr. Stefan, and Julio never gives up that lead, and neither does Worst Turtle. I feel like the two of them played this game so excellently. I also kind of want to highlight Warchi if we can, because this is a bit of a swap up for Warchi here, hanging out in the middle lane. We were used to seeing him, I think, play in the hunter position, but he can do whatever it is that he needs to do, whether it's damage, peeling for allies. He had a great game.
Warchi definitely stepped up his game in the mid lane, and like I said, this is a good start for the Poppies, a team that knows they have a lot of potential overall, but just couldn't really realize it during the summer split. I think that this role swap can reinvigorate Warchi. We see that a lot of times with players who have been around as long as Warchi has. He plays the game a ton, he streams it a lot, so you know that you can kind of get burnt out at times and kind of feel like you're falling into a rut playing that same role over and over again. A revitalization potentially for him, and Checky coming in that ADC role certainly didn't disappoint, so I'm excited for the Poppies.
It was an excellent play from them in that set 2, but set 3, that one's going to be Exordium going up against Sacred Speed Buff, and this is again sort of that rematch from the qualifiers we were talking about, 2 of our 5th and 6th projected seeds playing out here, and that matchup maybe didn't go exactly the way that you expected. Exordium looked great, and for me, it was Kha'Zix who stood out to me on that. Osiris for them.
Yeah.
What a just tremendous performance he had out of that solo lane in particular.
He really did look good, man. I'll tell you what. And Osiris, I know F-Dot and Tolly were talking about it on the cast, where you're either a great Osiris or you're not doing a whole lot. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot in between. Kha'Zix definitely proved his worth on that Osiris. I was also impressed with Angry Day, the mid laner for Exordium. He had a couple really nice turnaround plays in the mid lane on that Agni. So already starting to see a couple people develop on that Exordium roster. On the other side for Sacred Speed Buff, this is a team full of names that have been around not just the minor league, but the pro scene for a long time. Flippo, Get Fisher, Steefy Beefy, like these are guys who have been there for a long time, and I'm kind of surprised that they looked so lackluster today. I'm expecting a little bit more from them as the fall split goes on.
And from what it's worth, I really liked Flippo's performance. I believe he was on the Freya in that match, and he looked excellent.
Yeah.
The fight that kind of sticks out to me in my mind is that fight at the Gold Fury where Flippo's like kind of running the fight, and then you see Alka kind of dunk over on the Robin, kind of focus him out of the fight very early on. And from then, I feel like they kind of built up the momentum. They got the Gold Fury. They started building up even further on their lead, and Exordium really never gave it back up after that. So Alka, Kha'Zix, I feel like Angry Day, they all really played well together and kind of were able to answer back to some of what Sacred Speed Buff was doing.
And now if you're an Exordium fan, you're like, okay, I want to hop on board this bandwagon while it's still in this train station.
Right.
Now you're looking for the duo lane to start stepping up, right? We already saw the mid laner, the jungler, the solo have good experiences today. It was only one game. I'm not saying that, Popular and Ken6 didn't do anything.
Right.
I'm just saying that I'm excited to see if they can also have those big standout games where now you've got the whole team looking like they can really perform at that level.
Well, the last set of the day is we just talked about how well we saw the Exordium and Sacred Speed Buff looking, and you kind of highlighted Popular there towards the end. And I agree, maybe we're not going to see a ton of highlights from him, but he's definitely kind of doing his job for them at the very least. But like you said, if they want to rise up to compete with the likes of Insignia, with Optimus Gang, who looked great today as well, they are going to need, I feel like, just a little bit more from those two to try and close that gap and make sure they really are competing at that level. But again, if you're going home with a win, you can never really feel too bad about it. But that last set, that was Insignum trying to look for some revenge going up against Victoria's Secret. They had that rough loss at the start of the day, and we're thinking we just cannot go down 0-2 here, and they played like that.
Exactly. This is a team that definitely understands how to bounce back from their losses.
Right.
I mean, look at what happened from their spring finals loss to their summer finals victory. I mean, this is a team that is very good at understanding their mistakes and trying to fix it. Lasberg goes back to this Athena jungle, which I thought was pretty interesting, something that hasn't been seen a whole lot of in the pro level. I mean, it's only been, 2 days of SPL play thus far. We'll get more later on today and tomorrow. But Athena jungle, there's so many good assassins right now that it did surprise me to see that 2 games in a row. But that's something that you can kind of throw a wrench in other teams' plans. I mean, look at the picks and bans from Game 1 against Optimus Gang, where Optimus Gang tries to focus out Lasbra by banning Robin and Ratatosker. By throwing a weird god in there like Athena that, other teams weren't really accounting for, now that makes it week 2 matches here for Insignum. Now you have to respect that idea from Lasbra. So I think knowing that you can have a good performance and turn around and still make teams respect this pick for you is going to help out Insignum in the long run.
And Insignum looked strong in this match. I don't want to get that clouded here, but I do have some questions about their picks and ban strategies here at this point. Is this just their take on the meta here right now? Because they haven't drafted in a way that I would consider traditional, and they haven't also leaned as hard, I feel, as the rest of the Europe SML has into the early game either. They're in this sort of weird in-between space with the way that their picks and ban strategies are, and I want to see how well it's going to work out for them going forward. But everyone else has kind of leaned into these Hercules, these Thanatoses, let me get out the gate running with these invades, right? And I'm just wondering where Insignum is and all that.
They could end up setting the meta where they're forcing other teams to slow down and pick towards the mid to late game if they are the ones doing that and they're winning. But they could also be forced to speed up if they don't continue to see success. So it's kind of a wait-and-see sort of thing for Insignum. I think they have had some moments of lackluster picks and bans, I think, of the spring finals where it didn't seem like they were ready for picks and bans. But then they came in the summer and had great picks and bans. So I think they just need maybe a little bit less scrim time. I mean, sometimes you just get in a call. Instead of going to scrim that night, you kind of take an easier night, take a night off kind of, but do an hour of picks and bans. Just run through different scenarios against particular teams based on what you know about them, based on what you think. You try out different compositions, that sort of thing. I think that sort of idea could benefit Insignum, focusing on picks and bans.
And they absolutely have to prioritize it. There's less and less time to sort of respond now in the SML because it is those best in ones. So you got to make sure that you have that right away. But we can go ahead and take a look now at the standings after the whole day of action. It feels like so much of it to go back over. Up at the top, looking good, is Optimus Gang. I believe they played one more game off broadcast here today, so they're 2-0, looking strong. You might be a little bit surprised to see Insignum at 1-1 since they dropped their game earlier, and still a little bit more work for Victoria's Secret to do down there 0-2.
Yeah, Optimus Gang definitely the headliners today by going 2-0. Exordium, despite all their good performance against Sacred Speed Buff, they lost off stream to Optimus Gang, but Poppy's certainly coming away feeling pretty good about their day as well.
Yeah, Poppy's also looked strong. They didn't lose any games here as well. So it's Optimus Gang and Poppy's the ones who I feel like can really come away from this one with the most momentum. Let's go ahead and take a look back at the whole SML schedule so we can see exactly which matches are coming up. Again, we just got through doing Europe today, and there's a bunch more action coming in tomorrow on the North American side. You want to see where Very Nice to Me is. They were the ones from the summer split who came in looking strong. Are they going to have a bit of a stumble like Insignum did, or are they going to hit the gates running? There's a ton of questions to answer.
Well, remember, they lost their mid laner as well. Moswell up
That's
to the Pro
true,
League
yeah.
to play with Splice, so that's going to be an interesting idea. Team Cryptic with a little bit of a different look as well. There's going to be there's lots of roster changes. We'll go over them tomorrow.
Yeah.
We don't want to overload you right now and try and make you remember until tomorrow, but I'm excited to see the NA Minor League kick it off tomorrow.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at just the overall schedule for all the broadcasts that we're going to be doing. Again, remember, there's not going to be a broadcast on Monday. That is a holiday here in America, so instead we'll be pushing that Esports Weekly 10 a.m. Tuesday. And as Ryan likes to point out, that is basically an hour-long block where we just get to roast him. So if you like seeing Ryan get roasted, make sure you show up for that.
Not me. I don't like that.
That makes sure that we're definitely going to roast him. He's earning it as we speak. Global Series is going to follow right behind that on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And SPLs are going to be generally every day during the week, but those first couple days are 3 games. And then on Thursdays and Fridays at SML, there's just going to be the 2 days because we got a day just full of SML action.
Hey, Finch, I want to buy some gems. Can you help me with that?
You know what? I'd be more than happy to help you get some gems. We can work through some of our promos on that for you as well. Aggro, you don't need gems. Don't you get paid in gems?
Don't tell me what I need and what I don't.
Whoa,
you kidding me?
stepping to me here right now in front of everybody?
You clearly stepped to me saying you don't need that.
I'm just telling you that you get paid the same amount of gems as I do, and it's a lot of gems if I do say so.
That's what you think.
Uh-oh.
You think you make the same amount of gems as me.
Wait. At the same time, well, here, I'll say how many gems I make first, and then you tell me how many.
Sure
you make.
thing.
Okay, I get 2,000 gems.
Same.
Oh, no!
Yeah.
You
that's
thought you were
what I
doing
meant.
okay?
2,000.
Yeah. Let's go to this promo. Can we please move on? It's a gym sale. 35% off gym packs for a limited time. That's a pretty good deal. Are you kidding me? I can do better than 2,000
Yeah,
if I hop on there now.
What's 35% of 2,000? Can you do some quick math?
I absolutely
can't.
can. So 35% of 2,000, that's 1,450.
Wow. Way to go, Finch. Way to go.
Thank
Easy
you, man.
clap, dude.
I said that confidently. I have no clue if that's right. The key is just to
I
lean in.
didn't even think about it, to be honest. There's no way that's right now that I think about it. There's just no chance.
There's not a chance.
Wait, what did you say? 1350?
1,450 was my guess,
1450?
yeah.
That's more than 50%.
No, it isn't.
Of
1,000.
Of 2,000?
1,000's 50% of 2,000.
I know, it's 35%.
So
No.
right, I went to a third. Like I tried to cut it in half real quick.
Please, just
someone in chat
continue.
tell me just how close I was. Try
probably
and
weren't.
give me some kind of idea of
You
what it
probably weren't. We did communication things, not math things. I
That's
just want to
right.
make
Yeah,
that
yeah, that's
explicitly
right.
clear to
Right.
everyone. That's
Journalism
two
major.
very different skill sets as far as I'm concerned.
I have people backstage doing my math for me, but again, we're gonna have all this working towards that big goal towards the end of this again, which is gonna be getting everybody towards the Atrax. You want to make sure that everybody's there for that one as well, Ryan. But we really are getting close to rounding this whole thing out. But again, you want to make sure that you make it to that HRX event. Pick up those tickets for it. highresexpo.com, November 16th through 18th. Get there for the SMITE World Championship, Console, Paladins Console, all the other events that are happening there at DreamHack. I can't believe we're giving it all away for one ticket price. I actually can't.
Well, yeah, let me do some math on this one. So from us, you'll get SMITE World Championship, SMITE Console World Championship. I just can say that word. Paladins World Championship, Paladins Console Wars.
That's
and
four
then
things.
everything else that's going to be at DreamHack Atlanta. Lots of different games show up there, all for just one ticket price, and it's for just a couple days. You should come. That math checks out by me. Okay, Finch.
What's
Don't
wrong?
forget that you're giving away gifts to everyone.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm dabbing on everybody. Did I do one just now or no?
You
Yes
did
or-
not.
I did not, yeah. No one will know that I've done 2 today, off just when you couldn't see them off camera.
So unlucky.
That is-
No one is more unlucky than me in that I had to
Because
see
Ryan
that.
had to see them both.
Yeah, seriously.
To let you know, though, there are going to be some SPL happening. That's going to be 3 p.m. Eastern time, our time here. So that should be about an hour and a half or so, right around that marker, I think.
A little
at
bit
this
less than
point.
that.
A little bit less than that. So make sure that you get back here for the SPL action. That is going to do it, though, for the SML. So again, for me and Ryan, everybody back there in production getting it done, thank you very much for joining us, and be back for the SPL.
Peach it.